Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning, happy Sunday to you. Is this like the gazillionth day in the row that it's sunny and I'm just... Oh.
I love it, by the way.
I love it.
What's not to like?
What is not to like?
other than the death associated with heat, but if you take that out of the equation, it's a blooming lovely.
I'm so for this.
Yeah, the sunshine makes me feel...
itself.
It makes me feel better. I don't know why I'm pointing up here. This is where it makes me feel better, Doctor.
It used to hurt here.
Yeah, it's everywhere. No, it's so good. I've already started thinking about when it's going to change and how sad it will make me.
Don't do that. Don't scare it off.
I know, it's mental, isn't it? I'll tell anyone off if they said that to me.
It's when... Do you know what? I really hate those ghouls who say how much they like autumn. I'm like, no, it's the beginning of death.
I don't like autumn.
I hate autumn. It's filthy.
It changes my whole...
Everything. As soon as I see, like, a leaf turning brown, I'm like, that's it. That's 6 months of pain.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Can we make it stop?
What's our plan?
Gran Canaria.
Oh, at Lanzarote, volcanic lair.
Oh, yeah, let's just get out there.
I've actually seen a good one on Rightmove.
Have you?
Yeah, I reckon. It's made of
let's
actual
go halves.
blocks of volcano. Let's go halves, build a studio in there and go live our life.
Well, we can do it from there, can't we?
Of course we can.
The bosses here would love it. In fact, I'd imagine they subsidise it.
Save them a quid or two. You know, get some good solar downlands, probably. You know,
yeah, exactly.
With, so,
we're not on air, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's always how we like to sort of gently segue into the news. I do want to say, by the way, as we kick off the show, because one thing we're really bad at in this country is cheering ourselves on, being positive about our achievements, and actually when there's a really blimmin' great news story, shouting about it. And so that's what I want to do, because Josh Kerr, 28-year-old Josh Kerr, has broken the world record for running a mile. And the reason this is so significant, there's various things that make this really significant. First of all, we invented that with Steve Cram. And then we kept also, you know, we kept beating Steve Cram's record, but it stayed in British hands. On, off. But we've always fought for this in Britain. It's a very British thing, the time it takes to run a mile. That's our stuff. That's what we do, and we do it well. Now, sadly, Hisham El Garouj from Morocco had actually pipped us in recent years, in 1999. And, well, Josh Kerr thought, I'm not going to let that happen. In fact, I want to train specifically to be able to beat that exact time in Britain in front of a British crowd. And he did it. He focused all of his training. I don't understand how you do, you know, athletics training, but he focused sort of, you know, the psychology, all of it, with actually trying to break that specific record. And yeah, he beat his previous personal best over a mile, which was the British record of 3:45:34. And that's it. He just wanted to go for that particular title. He decided it was the perfect year to do it. And there we are. It's so we've had Roger Bannister doing it, Sebastian Coe, Steve Cram, Steve Ovett, and now we've got Josh Kerr. And I just want to say, well blimmin' done, son. Well done, lad. We love to see it. Anyway, there you go. That's me trying to do sports commentary. Did you?
Live. I watched it live. I was on. There was a television in the room I was in. I looked at that and it was on. It was just pure coincidence that it came on, and I watched a bit of it was Diamond League Athletics. It was absolutely fantastic. He looked the part as well. He had sort of a great haircut, sunglasses, sort of thing I'd imagine that I'd look like if I was breaking athletic records rather than just a sweaty heap of red mess. You were talking earlier about you don't understand the athletics training. Obviously I do, but I don't want to talk about it.
What was it? Were the crowds going wild? I hadn't seen
it was really good. It was at the London Stadium, which is West Ham's ground, which is the old Olympic ground, and it was completely packed. Everyone was cheering along, and it's fantastic. And that alongside actually England beating France last night. Now, I know it was third place playoff.
Didn't see that either.
And England won 6-4.
It looked like it would have been a good thing to watch, actually.
I was all for going to bed and ignoring it because I thought, oh my goodness, you know, this was the sports equivalent of autumn, and I thought, I'm not going to watch this happen.
It is the sports equivalent of autumn. I'm not going to watch this sad transition.
And then, do you know what? I watched the first 10 minutes and it was just hooked. Absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, there we go. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We've got loads of news knocking about today, loads of things to discuss. And the first opportunity for Paul and I to discuss some massive things that have been going on in the world, because blimmin' heck, last weekend was a one, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was rightly poignant and in memory of Anne, and you knew her well. I'd worked with her, and there was obviously the reaction as well from the left, which was astounding.
Isn't it not a surprise that we have now found out? And of course, a man is being questioned by police. We know he's called Joshua Kerry.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to start banging on into any detail or making comments that could affect the investigation or indeed prejudice a future trial once he's been charged, assuming he will be charged. But basically, it looks like something we've been needing to talk about for a very, very long time, which is left-wing terrorism, extreme left-wingery, because we're riddled with it. We're riddled with it. It's in our institutions. It's at the very highest level in the judiciary, in the police force. Of course, we saw what happened with Henry Novak, which is also another sort of offshoot from this horrible creation, which is this deeply punitive, violent, unpleasant, divisive ideology. We spent all of last century, basically, trying to defeat communism. Now we just have it everywhere. And it's like, oh, well, there you go. Bit of Antifa, more pro-Pally marches, Extinction Rebellion, calling everyone fascists, thugs, monsters, Socialist Workers' Party, riddling, you know, our institutions with this to such an extent that they begin to treat white people as automatic villains and non-white people as automatic victims. And then, finally, with this creation of stochastic terrorism, there ends up being fatal consequences. And it's been a huge game changer, and unsurprisingly now, of course, the media shut it all down. Of course, they pushed out a story of a load of people being arrested for trying to, you know, commit far-right terrorism against an Islamic gathering. It turns out all those people being released without charge. And I'm like, oh, that was funny, innit? Day after this happens, and people are starting to talk about this event, which we need to talk about. They always love to throw into the mix the idea that, well, you don't look over here at the mad radical leftists, you know, assassination attempts in America, Charlie Kirk being dead, all the extreme things that they're saying. Don't look over there, nothing to see there, because the far right. And then you go, but none of those people were charged, and they've all been released. And why do they keep waving around this notion that the far right is the greatest threat to this country? Not Islamism, not Marxism, the far right. No, whatever exists of the sort of so-called far right, most of which is mythical, but whatever exists of it that is grim and horrible is largely, I would say, there's a causal relationship. It's manifested as a direct consequence of the mad leftism. And the mad leftism goes along untrammelled. It just, you know, can grow and spread like a cancer in society everywhere, having all these horrible effects on everyone, every last man, woman and child. But we can't talk about that because we just live in a, you know, leftist tyrannical state now.
Wow.
Autumn.
Well, it's... Look, I've got so much to say on this, but I'm going to be generalistic because I don't want to prejudice anything. But look, the overarching message from this part of the left is be kind or else. It is be kind or we will punish you. It's be kind or we will find a way to get you. It's be kind or we may even kill you. And it's this is not done directly. This is done via proxy. This is done by sending out a message saying these people are evil, these people are bad. The way that they spoke about Anne Widdecombe was just a conservative, a Catholic conservative. Yeah. All of those things are legitimate views. You might disagree with them in the same way I disagree with those views on the left, but it doesn't mean you have a right to act with impunity or to physically harm. And with regards to the Muslim gathering, by the way, and those people, we knew that was going to be nothing. I'll tell you why we knew that was going to be nothing, because there was 12 people arrested. And when has there been a far-right terrorist cell where 12 people have been arrested, we've understood nothing about them? I'll tell you what we understood nothing about is the gathering of 10,000 Muslims in a stately home that was so secretive that we can't even talk about it because we don't know anything about it.
Oh, my goodness. I was talking yesterday with Peter Barnes about something that I was talking about at CPAC. Here we go. Which is, I was speaking to people who work very much in intelligence security, and they said, do you have any idea of what is going on with jihadi training camps in the UK? Actual jihadi training camps. Yeah. Summer schools where we go and learn a bit of parkour, you know, being able to run around buildings and get through windows, and paintballing, you know, learn how to fire weapons. And so these summer schools that are taking place up and down the country, you know, get beefed up, get the body mass. They're like, it's sinister. It isn't, you know, like a sort of Islamic extension of the scouting movement. It's...
Yeah, because we have a hierarchy. We have a hierarchy of identity labels. There's a number of tiers, particularly 2 tiers within the policing system. And depending on where you sit, depends on what you can get away with. If you look like you and I, you're right at the bottom tier, and there's very few things you can get away with. You can share your view, but you will be criticised. If you find your way up to the upper echelons of that hierarchy, and you happen to be Muslim or left-wing or both, or performatively left-wing but Muslim, you are able to get away with things because your identity is protected. And the reason you're able to get away with it is because people like you and I aren't able to criticise it, because if we do criticise it, we're punished. Be kind or else. So that proliferates. They are able to do these camps. They are able to talk openly. They're able to have secret societies. They're able to have Sharia law. And they're able to do so because it can all be plausibly denied.
I tell you what else I thought the other day. I was thinking on this, and I just realised that righties, by and large, just really happy people who are just like, life's great, let me get on with it, all right? Stop trying to mess things up for me. Life's really good. You know, got a great family, got, you know, lovely place to live, love my country, you know, all's well. The left look at us and go, these happy, disgusting people, how dare they have joy? I hate them.
They see happy as privilege.
I need some of that. I want that happiness. I'm going to wipe the smile off their face. It is such bitterness. They think that it's all made for us, that the system is skewed in our favour, which is why we're so happy and just getting on with life, and that we owe them something because they're just miserable, sad, bitter loners for the most part. Sort out your own life. Just, do you know what? You can choose in the morning, however tough things are, you can actually go. And it's a really interesting psychological trick to play. I had a week from hell last week. Really had a week from hell last week. You know, in the wake of all the Anne stuff, I'm having to sort of do all these security protocols I've never had to do before, which is tedious, and it feels like it's impinging upon that sort of sense of just being able to relax and feel cool. There were some medical things going on in my family, all turned out well. Oh, good. Then someone ploughed into the side, oh my God, a roundabout, smashed it up. It's all in the space of about 4 days. And I just went, I'm just going to go here's a fork. I can go, I feel really sorry for myself and all these terrible things are going on and I feel really stressed and overwhelmed. I don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. Or I can just go, I'm going to go for a really lovely hike in the sunshine, hang out with my friends, smile, laugh, put music on loud in my kitchen and dance around, and somehow we will get through all this stuff. And next week's going to be a really good week because this stuff will have then been dealt with. And I just chose that route. And I laughed and smiled my way through all of it because you can.
You also didn't harbour that energy
can.
and point it towards someone and make yourself the victim. All the rhetoric is about, from the left, is making whatever it is about them. Even look at Andy Burnham's speech, his speech when he became Labour leader. He made up a scenario where someone said, Andy, you're for us, then talked about how that made him the perfect person to lead this country, when nobody's agreed with that whatsoever, and made the whole thing about him. When Anne Widdecombe was brutally murdered, everybody on the left made it about them. They made it about how it made them feel. Stop it.
I can't look at you. You know what you just said.
I didn't mean.
I know you didn't mean to, but you did.
It will never change.
And I can't look at you now. I'm going to read some messages. Alex, my wife has just said that you're coming on TV and you're usually Tom Watson on Sundays. I think she means Paul Cox.
I'm Tom Watson now.
Former Labour weight loss hero.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh. Andy Burnham keeps saying he has a plan. He may have a plan, but he has no mandate. Why doesn't he answer or take any questions? I know, it's mad, isn't it? Why doesn't he put his plan to the country in the general election? He wants to go back to the 70s, 3-day working weeks, power cuts, the dead not getting buried. He wants to take us back to that. No, thanks. This is the mad thing. You know, the BBC yesterday was sort of doing, like, our guide into the clues towards the ideology of Manchesterism. I'm like, there is no ideology of Manchesterism if you can't say what it is. And also, how inane and ridiculous is this? The fact that we're getting a new Prime Minister of the BBC, instead of, like, you know, once upon a time, someone coming in who goes, yeah, I want to renationalise stuff, would have to sit in front of, you know, leering Jeremy Paxman. Thank you. I lost it then. I was like, Clarkson? Not Clarkson.
I was thinking, just don't say Kyle.
Jeremy Kyle. And be grilled to, you know, infinitesimal detail about what will it cost, which budget is it going to come from, how is that going to be executed. You know, once upon a time, that's how we did politics in the UK. Now we've just got a whole political establishment going, ha ha, Farage is going to be fighting a bin, and a media class that goes, oh, let's look for the clues for Manchesterism. I'm like, my gosh, we live in meme world. We're just, what is this?
Performative platitudes is what it is.
It's so performative. It is so puerile, so facile, so infantile. I said this during the Makerfield by-election, the fact that they represented Andy Burnham with an emoji, and it said, Andy for us. What the Andy for us doesn't mean anything. And an emoji, for crying out loud, is that where we got to? Like, Kumbaya Ladybook guide to, like, how you should vote. Like, what is this?
Well, it's because, and I hate to say this, because there'll be plenty of decent people on the left that... Alex, please stop. OK, this is a professional radio show.
We're going to have to take a break soon, aren't we? Because I can't look at you.
So they need to dumb things down. This whole thing is dumbing things down. I think we should go to a break, Alex.
Let's go to a break so I can regain my senses a little bit, because I don't know whether you heard what he accidentally said, and you might not even know what we're sniggering about. The problem is I can't tell you what he said if you missed it, because it was that bad and it came out of his mouth by accident. But it was there, and I heard it, and I've got to now, you know, have a cup of tea and a deep breath. Please join us on the other side.
Some breaking news. 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. They've been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the reform agenda.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, hello. That was a bit of a bumpy start, so apologies for that. Sometimes, it's live broadcasting. Sometimes things take on a life of their own. But let's get back to something that isn't taking on a life of its own, which is democracy. In fact, I think it's well and truly dead at this point. We've got a new Prime Minister who's just been ushered in with some sort of made-up faux ideology of Manchesterism, which no one even knows what that is. He's not doing media interviews. He didn't face any sort of leadership challenge. Who's making broad statements like he's going to renationalise things. Do you know how much that costs? Does he also know that the EU are going to say you can't do that under competition regulation if you want to be in dynamic alignment with the single market? You're our Prime Minister, Andy Burnham. These are bare, basic facts of politics, and no one's asking you, are they? You're getting away with it. I'll tell you what, though, lad. I'll tell you what. When you get in, you're going to realise quite how bad things are. The IMF, right, they've just said that we are too big to bail out, and you've got to make massive cuts to expenditure. That's like welfare. Have you passed that by your backbenchers yet? Have you told them? How are you going to renationalise all that stuff? Where's all the billions, potentially trillions, going to come from to do that? When we can't even dig out a critical 15 billion quid we needed for defence. Did you know there's a war going on in the Middle East? Russia, they're still going at it, pretty big. Are you aware of that? Because you haven't talked about that to us at all. Oh, what about the mass migration problem? We have broken communities, divided society, illegals coming in, criminals setting up networks, terrorists, men from misogynistic cultures, raping women on the beaches of Bournemouth. What are your plans? Oh, that's right, you don't have any and you've not told us. Like, what is Manchesterism, Burnham? Andy Pandy, because you're about to discover that however twee and mawkish and whimsical you think your plan for a kind and more progressive society is, you're soon going to find out that you've got to deal with a steaming dumpster fire, right? You've got to manage some pretty big things, and I think you're going to find it very, very difficult. But who am I to say? Because no one's asked you. No one's bothered to ask you. You've not bothered to tell us either. You just went down the TUC building, didn't you? With your mates at the unions, because you don't want to take questions from the media. You just want to make sure that the unions are on your side. It's all about staying in power. That's it. It's all about the technicalities, the politique, as Paul and I would say, not the actual politics. Badenoch has turned around and said, Andy Burnham doesn't need to call an election yet. Who do you think you are, you little madam? You said, oh, we're not going to stand in Clacton because we don't think that one's a by-election. But you did stand in Makerfield and got like 2%, right? And now you're also wading in on when people should or shouldn't call an election. Only if he strays from the Labour manifesto or fails to fund defence. Like, I'm sorry, Kemi Badenoch, democracy's not optional for when you fancy it, when your party's ready, when you think the voters should have a blooming voice. We just want a blooming general election because this is ridiculous what's going on. It's insane that we're just having this constant switcheroo of party political leaders and prime ministers. But, oh, your party knows that very well, doesn't it? You loved a bit of that. You also loved cancelling those local elections, which thankfully got reinstated, so 5 million people actually got to take part in democracy. But I'm so fed up with the establishment who are just so on high that they just think the game is exactly how they want to play it on their terms. They'll make up the rules as they go along. And they think they're so smart and so clever, and they don't realise that there are people in this country looking at them going, you're disgusting.
Yeah. Look, it's purely vibes-based. A lot of it's lies, actually. When you look at the north-south split, on average, public spend per person in the north is much higher than it is in the south. I've got some figures in front of me from 24-25. In the southeast, where everybody gets everything, there is £12,031 per person spent.
Yeah.
But in the northeast, where nobody gets anything, it's 14,102. So, look, Andy Burnham and Manchester. Andy Burnham does exist, unfortunately. Manchesterism doesn't exist, and Andy Burnham's not from Manchester.
I know.
Right? Okay. It's like me going, "Hey, Cornwallism, that's me." I'm not from Cornwall, and there is no Cornwallism.
I want West Countryism.
Yeah, exactly.
West Countryism is a great philosophy to live by.
I think we're going to get as much. I saw Mark Dolan. I saw Mark Dolan a number of times.
I just saw Mark Dolan a few minutes ago. Put me a piece in
He's
for
got
me.
shorts under the desk, unbelievable shorts.
Those shorts don't leave much to the imagination,
No,
do they?
when I say I saw Mark Dolan, I saw Mark Dolan. But he made a really good point in Dolan's dispatch at 9 o'clock when he was talking about wanting Andy Burnham to do well.
Of course.
And I think many of us wanted Starmer to do well. We wanted Liz Truss to do well. We wanted Theresa May to do well, Boris Johnson to do well. Unfortunately, over that period of time, no one did well for the people of Britain because we lived on vibes and vibes only.
This is another mad thing, because Manchesterism is devolution. Devolution's a disaster. It is so ridiculous. I got a few little stats and factoids for you folks at home. I ran some of these out yesterday, so if you listened to yesterday's show and you happen to remember them, I'm sorry for the repeat, but it is worth talking about a lot. This whole idea that we are going to create another layer of democracy. It's not democracy, it's bureaucracy. It's bureaucracy, it's apparatchiks, it's pen pushers, it's more people employed by the state. It is communism, basically. It is making sure that we all work directly for the government and not for ourselves. There will be no private sector. Under devolution in Wales and Scotland, both of those countries run around a 25, 26 billion pound deficit, based on the tax receipts they would get in if they were a tax-raising entity and what they expend on running those governments. So that is a deficit that's just insane on a rolling annual basis. That's madness. 1 in 4 people in Wales work for the Welsh Assembly government. It's just, what is that? That is mad. And under this idea of devolution, we've currently got, over 20,000 elected officials in this country. 20,000. If you add up, parish councillors, village councillors, local authorities, metro mayors, police and crime commissioners, or they've gone. 20,000 people who are essentially in political posts. We got 70 million as a population, well, probably a bit more. But in America, you will have we're about a medium-sized state in America, They've got a senator and a governor and a few other characters. Why do we need everybody to be some sort of politician or political worker? This is basically collectivism. This is basically Leninism. This is basically you're going to work for the state, and he wants to, the state to take over factories that are failing. By the way, your mates in China don't like that. They're taking the UK government to court because they no longer own the steel, because the state's like, that's been run to the ground, we better buy that back. China's not going to like that when you want to take all the critical infrastructure they've bought out of their hands. Just saying, Andy, because your mates were big mates with those people over in Beijing. None of this is going to work. It is ridiculous. I want to see fewer people in the House of Lords, fewer people in the Commons. I'd bin off that Welsh Assembly. I'd bin off Holyrood. I'd bin off the lot of it, because it does nothing except pensions, except golden handshakes, massive civil service who all wear lanyards. It's just, we got to get rid of all that. We don't want more. We want to get rid of it.
The more people you have working in bureaucracy like that, the more red tape that there is. If you automatically slashed it in half, the way to make it more efficient would be to get rid of the process and bureaucracy, and therefore you'd reach this kind of equilibrium where people would understand you can get things done with a lot less people and a lot less red tape. And I just don't understand why, other than self-preservation, why they would want to manage it that way. Until you look more closely at what Marxism is and what socialism is and what big state politics is, it relies on those people. Look at this, 400 MPs in Parliament alone that are Labour. Not one of those people is capable of doing much more than what they are doing in Parliament right now, and they would never have that level of responsibility had they not been voted in. They all came from marketing and process-driven jobs, local authorities and activism.
Most of them came from basically either, you know, cuddling up to the unions, working for a politician. That's it. They're not real people.
Let's be fair and honest. We allowed that to happen by having so many years of a failing Conservative government. And Kemi Badenoch, as much as she's been doing very well recently, she has quite the nerve to come out and say he doesn't need to call a general election right now. What she's telling us is she's not ready for a general election.
She don't want one right now. She just wants to make sure that there's more lawfare and a tax on reform so she can totally, you know,
but there is a big question mark on whether the right is ready. Anyway, but there's only one way to find out.
I don't care whether anyone's ready or not ready. You can't keep changing who governs the country, and then it turns into someone who, you know, wants to take us back to the 1970s with very radical policies, none of which are in the manifesto, and we're just like, all right.
A man who was a small child, by the way, in the 70s, saying we want to go back to the 70s. The 70s was the last time the IMF had to bail us out. The 70s was the last time we had a 3-day working week because we couldn't afford to run the factories for 5 flipping days. And the 70s was the last time the country nearly collapsed. Margaret Thatcher returned us to some considerable power, actually, on the world stage as a result of reversing the 1970s. Yeah. The fact that Andy Burnham is able to go out to a bunch of uneducated people and say we're going to return to that time.
But also, it's mad! It's mad! The Conservative leadership contest was all these people cosplaying Margaret Thatcher. The leadership, non-leadership contest is Andy Burnham fighting the ghost of Margaret Thatcher. The woman hasn't been Prime Minister for 40 years. Can we please just get real? We've got real issues happening right now in real time that need addressing. I love a bit of Thatcher, right? But can we just put her down for a second, please?
Well, can we also acknowledge that, basically, in order for Blairism to work, he had to replicate Thatcherism in many ways. In many ways, Tony Blair's hero was Margaret Thatcher. So therefore, Burnhamism, which is of Brown and Labourite politics, is influenced by Thatcher politics, and therefore is exactly the same thing, which leans into the whole uniparty thing, which leans into the whole no change, which also leads into this idea that there is cognitive dissonance amongst the left because they are unable to see they're entirely influenced by the things that they are telling other people to hate, and they expect us to believe it.
The cognitive dissonance is all over your face, son.
Oh,
It's not like that Edgar
totally.
Munch picture, like the scream. Right, OK, let us take a short break. Loads of messages coming in. Let's have a little read through them. I know we can't have Trump, but could we please have Marco Rubio? Oh, says Lynn, I love Marco Rubio. His speech recently on left-wingery and left-wing terrorism was chef's kiss. It's amazing Donald Trump's talking a lot about tackling communism now. They get it in the States. Hi, Alex, don't forget Roger Bannister in your pantheon of British mile record holders. He was the first to run under 4 minutes back in 1954. Also, England beat Argentina in Argentina 31-24 at rugby last night, just before England beat France 6-4 in the 3rd place playoff. Shout these outs for England, says Michael in Birchington. People on the left are lovely people. People on the right are full of hate and anger, says someone. In the 80s, we had Maggie, Johnny Cash and Bob Hope. Now we have Burnham, no cash and no hope, says Mick in Wellington. Morning, Alex and Paul. The left don't want some of our happiness. They want to make us as miserable as them. I reckon we're entering the autumn of the Labour government. Not long now until spring is on its way. Sarah from Morden, doing all right for myself with a big, fat, happy right-wing smile on my face, and they ain't getting any of it. That's what I'm saying. We've got to spread the joy. And someone said, you're too young to remember Andy Pandy. I think I sort of, back end of Andy Pandy, I got a little bit of...
Didn't Andy Pandy finish in the... I don't know. Anyway, what we did have in the 80s
I had a
was television.
VHS of Watch with Mother, with, like, the flower pot men, Bill and Ben and all that.
that was the sort of stuff our parents watched.
Finger mouse.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. And my nan used to have videotapes of Watch with Mother, and I remember watching that,
Yeah,
but I wasn't on. It wasn't on when I was there. I don't know what the
I had a bit
words
of
are.
Watch with Mother on VHS. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. If you want to keep your thoughts coming in, 03444991000 is the number to call us, your normal network rating. We're happy to speak to you about whatever, whenever, so don't be shy and get on the blower. 8722 is the number if you'd like to send a text. Write the word talk before you send your message. You can also leave us a joyful voice note at 03444991000 on WhatsApp. And I don't know, let's make it a joy day, shall we? Because that's what we used to do so well. That was what it was all about. That's what the sort of Phillips Cox pairing up was. That was the sort of MO. That was the energy. It was just pure.
Exactly.
Unbridled joy.
we were the manifestation of the dog in the fire meme, where we just sat there laughing as the whole world burns. Because why not? And we take it incredibly seriously. We understand it better than some, and we can tell you all about it. But we don't want you to be out there on your Sunday morning thinking this is the end of the world, because we can actually turn this around very quickly.
Yeah, man. This is Sunday. This is God's day. We're going to spread love. We're going to spread joy. We're going to spread light. We're going to remember who we are and why we've got reasons to be happy. I know things are pretty grim out there, but you know what? You still got your family, you got your friends. I mean, there's so much to celebrate. So let's just be happy today, shall we? Right, let's take a break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what really helps keep bad guys off the streets and protects us all?
My muscles.
Apart from those,
No.
which are beautiful.
Comments.
No, it's 500-word essays that reflects on how to make the police anti-racist.
Oh, good Lord, that's what we need, aren't we?
That's going to get the wrong uns, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
I can't wait for when Surrey police officers see a guy in a bally going down the street with a massive machete on a line bike ready to, like, slice up some gang member. And they sit there and think, now, the other day as I was reflecting on how to make the police anti-racist, I taught myself that I shouldn't arrest this person because they're black. Brilliant! Can't wait. What a ridiculous... What? We gotta... Can we... Why hasn't a political party come out and said we would ban critical race theory? We'd make it illegal. Because it's dangerous, evil, toxic ideology. Does someone ban it, please?
The most incredible grift of the early 21st century will be critical race theory. It was a white woman who wrote that book, by the way. And
no, of course it was. It always is. That's the problem.
There weren't any people...
My sisters let me down so hard.
There weren't any people of colours writing that book. And colours, I don't know how many colours there are. There's
Are you allowed to say colours anymore?
Well, I don't know.
Is that wrong?
But we are on Talk,
anymore.
so absolutely. Look, it's utterly ridiculous. There will need to be change. We've been taught that anything that talks negatively about somebody of colour, irrespective of the fact it's got nothing to do with their colour, by the way. If there is a certain person or a certain culture that disproportionately commits a certain type of crime, then just police it.
Police it!
This is just down to the College of Policing, by the way. I believe this has got to do with sort of people sitting in their training saying thoughtful things and writing poetry about how they're white and how how they're going to not be racist when they become a police officer. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Nonsense.
It doesn't make... Yes, nonsense with Paul Cox and Alex Phillips.
That's our favourite gesture, isn't it?
I don't know what it means. That's what it is. A tick in the box. Politique. Nonsense. Look, please, just police the flipping crime.
Shall we take a call now? Let's do a call, shall we? Because we've got Barry waiting for us in Norwich. Oh, Paul doesn't have an earpiece. Oh, blimmin' heck. I'll have to sort of do sign language to Paul about what Barry is saying in real time. So, actually, can I put the levels up in the studio?
Yeah, put them up.
Yeah, can I do
Let's
that?
do it.
I don't know. I don't know. I shouldn't touch these buttons.
Absolutely not.
I got buttons in front of me, and I don't know what they do. And I'm not touching them. Hands where you can see them.
Don't pretend to. I've seen him pretend to.
OK, all right. So let's speak to Barry. Hi, Barry.
It's no good touching equipment you're not used to touching. Yeah.
Exactly.
I can hear Barry.
Hey!
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. That's what matters. Alex can hear you too, obviously, and that also matters.
You two are cracking me up, man. That's funny. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in PMA, positive mental attitude, but I'm running out of it slowly. Yeah, with this government and previous governments. You know, we need a general. We need a general election. I don't care who it is. Yeah, it should be how it is. We live in a democracy, apparently. And Kemi Badenoch doesn't want an election, does she? Because she knows she's going to get hammered. Yeah, because we had 14 years of that nonsense. Yeah, and we've had 2 and a bit years so far of these idiots. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, Barry? None of them. The establishment don't want elections. They never want elections unless they can rig them, basically. I know that sounds strong, but when you're messing about with a plebiscite and going, oh, let's move to a representative system, a PR system, as they did in Wales without any sort of referendum. Oh, I know, let's give 16-year-olds the vote. Oh, I know, let's not have local elections because we want to completely restructure what the constituencies are. Oh, well, you know, let's change the Prime Minister by someone stepping down in Makerfield and we'll all contest it, but all the left wing will vote one way and won't put up candidates against each other. Oh, well, Nigel Farage has got to face an election because we're calling him a crook, and when he goes, OK, let's do it then, no, we're not going to take part in that election. They think democracy's optional. They think it's just a game. It's not about accountability. It's not about actually listening to us, going, oh, my gosh, these people don't like mass immigration. They don't like seeing the judicial system infected with a load of woke nonsense from the ECHR. They don't like all the crime on their street because the police officers are writing essays on racism instead of actually arresting people. Oh, it turns out they don't like the fact that the economy is going to hell in a handcart because we're just statifying everything. We're state-maxing rather than actually helping businesses. Oh, no, the people, let's not listen to them. Let's tell them that they're wrong. Let's gaslight them with fake news and disinformation. And then, even then, if that doesn't work, let's make sure that they can't get to the ballot box, or the only people, let's rig the system so it tips only in favour of those people who allow us carrying on doing what we're already doing now. That is what's going on. It's been going on for like 15, 20 years. We all see it. The Brexit vote was about it. Of course, we weren't allowed that, were we? I mean, democracy's dead, people. It's dead. It's gone. Done.
Oh, yeah.
Gone.
Oh. If voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. I mean, you know, there's the cynic in me, but you know, we need a change of government, and these two main uni parties need to be booted out.
Aye, I agree. Do you know what? Do you know who? Barry, thank you ever so much for your call, my love. Anyway, we've got you a bit in your ear now.
Barry,
by the way, added to our...
He did.
Barry accidentally added that there was an accidental word that came out about... Well, this is Accidental Word Day. It's a dangerous day, so it's a dangerous time to be alive on air, on Accidental Word Day. But, Barry, you almost got us into trouble by accident. Now, let us... do you know who I've been missing from public life? Just not as Prime Minister, because it was useless, but because he actually did put a smile on my face, because he was a purveyor of unadulterated joy.
Mr. Blobby?
Yeah, Boris Johnson. No, but I did. Even though his politics drove me insane, there was always when he popped up and spoke, even during COVID, when he'd stand behind a lectern looking like he'd had an electric shock, go, folks, we're going to have to shut you all in your houses. There was still a joy because Boris was saying it. Do you know what I mean? Because his delivery is just joyful. Anyway, he's been doing the rounds today, and so we've been nicking bits of what he's had to say. Should we have a little look at... he popped up on Sky News with the great Trevor Phillips. Was it Trevor Phillips? Well, it's Trevor Phillips. I love Trevor Phillips. Anyway, he's got a great surname, what can I say? This is Boris Johnson talking about immigration. Let's see what he came out with.
I'm a generous-minded sort of guy. I'm not going to discriminate against people because of where they come from. What I do think they need to do is be British. I think that over decades, we've been far too limp-wristed in insisting that people conform to our ideals and norms of our society.
Give me an example of what you
I think things like this. I think a lot of the stuff that people have been hearing about. I think a lot of the, relations between the sexes. We should have
treatment of women.
Yeah, the grooming gangs, all this sort of stuff. We haven't been tough enough in insisting on basic British norms of behaviour.
There he is. His hair's a bit funny, isn't it? It looks like he's had a bowl put on him.
Yeah, he gets blind people to cut his hair just to keep it that sort of
shaggy.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say shaggy, but
Listen, Boris, I don't really know what Boris Johnson just spoke about there, because it's just a whole load of nothingness. But that's kind of what Boris is very good at doing: circumlocution, delivery. He is in a sense, Boris is a bit like Andy. Or Kenny, these first names only, who are sort of turned into having sassy little remarks, but there's no substance.
No, there isn't, and we mustn't forget the Boris wave. We mustn't forget the damage that was done as a result of that, and we're paying for that terribly now. A lot of people, me included, thought he went too far during COVID, so there's a lot to be unhappy with Boris about. But I wish he would speak slightly plainer, because within that waffly.
I like him.
But within that was actually a really good message. I mean, I love the fact he said, I don't care where they come from, as long as they're British. and obviously...
not that old debate again.
Yeah, and I thought, do you know what? I don't think that makes sense, the point you were trying to make, Boris. But he does make a point in there, believe it or not, and that's that we need to return to common sense. Where's common sense gone? The idea that a man can be a woman, nonsense. The idea that everybody who's white is responsible for all the racism and slavery in the world, nonsense. The idea that if you're on the right and you think conservatively makes you evil, nonsense.
It's not common sense. Norman Sense?
No, he's one of our characters. Norman Sense.
It's not Norman Sense. It's not common sense. It's actually just truth.
Yes.
That is worse than that. This whole idea that actually common sense has gone.
That's such a good point.
It's no, truth has gone. Facts have gone. Reality has gone. It's all deliberate disinformation, misinformation. It is gaslighting. It's emotional abuse. It's psychological abuse. And I'm done. Right. On that happy note, let's take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing a little bit of good news, but I don't believe it is what it says on the tin, which is that Burnham is going to scrap digital ID. Phew. Or is it? That's coming up after this.
Breaking news, 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. They've been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the reform agenda.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
We were just talking during the break there, as we are wont to do, about how just don't trust anything anymore. We were talking about the death of truth. And it's really horrible to have reached a level where, you know, the police say X, Y, Z, they put out a statement to the public, and you immediately think, they're lying. Or, you know, medical advice after COVID, and you just think, don't think that's true, they're probably lying. How horrible to live in a world where trust has been eroded that much that whatever people who are in positions of authority, who are supposed to be serving the public, protecting the public, open their mouths and say something, the first instinct is to go, are they actually just pulling the wool over our eyes? Are they gaslighting us? But this is where we've reached in 2026, and it is horrific.
Yeah, well, they said follow the science, so we did, and it took us all the way back to government policy, which made us realise that the science wasn't science, it was just whatever the flavour of politics was at the time, which is mental. You know, we've led our whole lives by that, probably for 20 years now.
No, indeed. So this is where I'm sceptical when I read that Andy Burnham is going to scrap digital ID to focus on the cost of living in his first major policy pledge. So his first major policy pledge is not doing a thing. All right. It's going to save us apparently 1.8 billion, which is just nothing. I'm sorry, 1.8 billion, that's like, you know, that's a Richard Branson Island. You know, that's not really any, you know, that's nothing. But I'll tell you why I don't believe this. First of all, they've done the polling and they know that we hate it. So they're like, OK, let's try and give him a boost and make him look popular and draw a distinction that he's totally different from Sir Keir Starmer by him coming and completely binning this straight out the box, right? That's what's going on. It's saying the things that they know that we want to hear, so we like him more. I'll tell you for why this is absolute BS. Because we've already got, haven't we, digitised NHS. That all happened during COVID, where, you know, medical records and then sign on to the NHS app and, you know, book your appointment with the doctor surgery on the NHS app. We've now got, you have to do, you know, tax has gone digital, which has to connect to your bank account, and you have to use accountancy software. That will then soon link up with, oh, right, so you've been off work, have you? And you need some statutory sick leave, so that's going to have to connect to the medical. Whether or not you have an actual digital, you've got a digital ID, right? You've got one. You've got a government gateway. You've got an NHS number with an app attached to it. All this stuff already exists, my friends. So they don't need to roll out £1.8 billion digital ID scheme because it's going to happen anyway. They're just not going to tell you about it. They're just going to make out like they're not doing it.
Yeah, they found another way to do it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Find another way to gaslight us.
We don't know which one of those tentacles is going to be used, but we know some of them are going to be used. Also, Tony Blair's already come out recently and said that Andy Burnham's already failed before he's even started. So this is a chance for Andy Burnham to get back at Tony Blair. The only reason that Keir Starmer was doing it was Tony Blair. When Keir Starmer was talking about it, he wasn't talking about the billions he was going to spend. Now we're going to save that money. It's all wooden dollars. It's all nonsense. It's all absolute nonsense. It's like knitting clouds. It means nothing. It holds no weight. End of rant.
I like that. There you go. A rant on this then, which is, here we go again. Thousands of rapists now are going to be freed under Labour's early release scheme. 2,500 rapists and paedophiles will be released from jail early in September under Labour's plans to tackle the prison overcrowding crisis. I got an idea. Build prisons. Build prisons. Build detention centres. That would help. Don't just let these ne'er-do-wells roam around the streets ready to go and sexually offend a poor young girl. Lock them up. Put them somewhere. Yeah, did you hear about Piddington? Piddington's my favourite place in the world right now.
Sounds like... is that twinned with the Poddington Peas?
It's the Piddington pose. Anyway, Piddington is a village in Oxfordshire that are now campaigning to become their own enclave, like the Vatican, because the government are trying to impose military barracks, about 1,500 undocumented young men, and they've been told it's all going to be young men. On a military barracks migration centre, and they're going to be allowed to just check in, check out, roam around That is the problem. They shouldn't be allowed to just check in and check out like it's some sort of, I don't know, holiday resort. Like, come on, let's be serious. Every time we hear about, well, let's not have jury trials, let's release people early from prison, I've not heard anyone say, these are the prisons we're going to build. And yet Nightingale hospitals during COVID managed to get those up, didn't you? Even Nightingale courts, they could do this. They could actually go, we desperately need these prisons. What are we going to do? Oh, all that money we're giving to Pakistan, not going to do that anymore. We're going to build some prisons instead. Or whatever. I'm sorry, but this is just... Why, when we keep hearing about people being released, are we not hearing about actually building the critical infrastructure we need to make sure this doesn't have to happen?
Incredibly dangerous policy. Reminded of Jess Phillips, former Women and Girls Safety Minister, believe it or not. Her interview this week when asked about this, she voted for this and she voted down the Tories who wanted an amendment to say that rapists could not be released. And she said, well, we've got a prison issue. It doesn't matter, Jess. It doesn't matter. That is not an answer. Keep them in there. Let them pile up. Put 7 in a cell. I don't care. Just don't let them out anywhere near women and girls. The most insidious thing I find is that we have this women and girls safety minister now who do absolutely everything to harm women and girls.
Well, I know.
At every turn. And someone like Jess Phillips, who professes to be X, Y and Z on this matter, time after time after time again, has a history of voting against protecting women and girls to toe the party line.
I know.
This for me is unforgivable.
It's ridiculous. It's a bit like going, my fridge is broken. I know what I'm going to have to do. I'm going to have to take all my perishables out and just scatter them around my house and see how long it lasts until something becomes a sort of, you know, stinking pile of mould. No! You look at what they did in El Salvador under Nabil Bukele. He was like, right, crime's out of control. I'm just going to make a supermax prison and chuck everyone in it. And guess what? Crime's gone down.
Of course
it sorted it. That is how you deal with this stuff. You don't just go, let's let all the burglars and rapists and terrorists and murderers and petty criminals and con artists and muggers and gangsters just hang out.
Be Kind or Else puts Lucy Connolly in prison for 1.5 years for a tweet.
I met her at CPAC.
I've met Lucy, and she's just a very
just
grounded,
nice,
normal person.
Yeah.
It also lets rapists out. We cannot live in a world where a mother can go to prison for words and a rapist can come out after 1 year.
Exactly. No, it's mad. It's mad. This whole country's mad. But we are going to smile and laugh our way through it today. Because, not like that. I don't know what that was. You're weird today. I love it.
I had tea instead of coffee.
Right, we're taking a break. Don't go in here. Put the kettle on. You might need something stiffer. See you after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
All right, welcome back. Happy Sunday to you. I think we've done what we're not supposed to do anymore, Paul.
Yes.
We smuggled weird out.
We have. We have. We'll dial it down. It'll always pop. Should we dial it down? What they're saying in the chat.
Ratty's yelling in my ears saying, don't say it out loud, don't say that that's what... We're not doing it, it just accidentally is trying... It's fighting its way out of the grave at the moment. It's trying to Lazarus itself into the studio.
Exactly. I mean, the world is a bin fire, and we're just trying to...
cheer everyone up.
Jolly it up a little bit, yeah.
Right, shall we do some messages?
Yeah, let's do that.
Johnny from Carlisle says Burnham doesn't think the north goes any further than Manchester. Actual fact, the true north is 100 miles further up the M6. Where is true north?
Cumbria.
100, is that 100 miles higher than Manchester now?
No, it's not that.
That's Scotland, isn't it?
That'd be Scotland, yeah. Which is a whole other country full of corrupt nationalists.
There's also good people up there.
No, yes, there is.
I like some Scottish people. I quite like some Scottish people. Yeah. Burnham is just a muppet of a puppet that was parachuted in. That's why he has no mandate or anything genuine about him. It's all a farce, and it will continue as it would have with the last bad actor. At least with pro wrestling, the audience know it's all a lie, says Michelle. That's true, actually.
That's true, yeah.
Actually, the audience do know it's all a lie, but we have to go along with pretending that it's not because everyone else is pretending that it's not.
I mean, I don't think they're with us anymore. God rest their souls. But let's have giant haystacks and Big Daddy in government.
All right. Sounds great.
They're
Sounds like a good
wrestlers, by
idea.
the way. These are people I met last night.
Kerry, where were you last night? Kerry was calling for a general election not long ago. Now she's saying Burnham doesn't need to call one. Is that because she knows that the Tories don't have a chance? She may be a good leader, but she leads a party of nothing. Is she a good leader? I don't... where are their policies? Oh, I'm sorry, but all she does is sassy remarks at the dispatch box that someone's written for her.
She's doing a job of work trying to pull the Conservative Party towards the centre.
No, they say that every time. We've been through this every blimmin' time. Bonfire of the Quangos, Theresa May, we're going to leave the ECHR, we're going to get rid of the Human Rights Act, replace it with a British Bill of Rights. I've heard it all the time. Bring down immigration to the tens of thousands. We've heard it. And you don't do it. Right. Shall we speak now to Carl Turner, MP for Hull East, who once upon a time was a Labour MP. He's now an independent because he's naughty. He got in trouble with the big boys. Good morning to you, Carl. How are you doing?
I'm all right, Alex. I'm in Germany heading towards Greece in our camper van, so I'm all right.
Well, I love it. Look at you. You look like such a dude.
Look at
Oh, Hot Wheels Turner. Right, now, tell us about Mr. Burnham. I mean... Just, you get to say what you like now. They've booted you out anyway, so just, can I just drag you back like a Tonka toy and let you loose, let you fly forward? Andy Burnham, what is Manchesterism?
Look, honestly, I'm enthusiastic. Why wouldn't I be? We've had 2 years of doom and gloom. Keir Starmer, bless his cotton socks, came into government 2 years ago, and the first thing he said was, it's really gloomy, it's going to get even gloomier still. What sort of a message is that? And then we had the toing and froing with U-turning, and I can't remember now how many U-turns, but there was plenty of them. We need hope and optimism, and I think Burnham brings that. Is it daft stuff we're talking about? I don't think it is. Manchesterism doesn't mean Manchester per se. Well, let me give you an example, Alex. We've had some really big hitters as members of Parliament for Hull. We've had Alan Johnson, who was the Home Secretary, my predecessor. John Prescott was the Deputy Prime Minister for nearly 10 years. We've had big people representing that place, but we've never managed to get electrification from Selby to Hull. Why? It makes a lot of difference, by the way. Why didn't we get that sorted? The reason was officials in Whitehall saying, I'm sorry, the computer says no. So when he talks about devolution, that's what he really means. Decision-making where it makes a difference. And that's what I'm hopeful of.
So it's basically it's levelling up.
Well, I don't know if you want to call it levelling up, Alex. Call it what you like. I'm not bothered what you call it. Give it any name. I couldn't care. But what I want to happen, Alex, is for people in my constituency to feel like the government in power is making a difference. Look, we had 12 years of the chaos of the Tories, austerity years, and then 2 years of complete chaos where we had one Prime Minister in for 42 days. It was a mess. So we need something now. And look, when you've got Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak offering the Prime Minister advice, that means something to me because even they want him to succeed.
Right. Well, we all want him to succeed because it matters to us, doesn't it, the people?
It does.
But do you think that, you know, he should call a general election? Because he is talking about some pretty sweeping changes. I personally think the idea of more devolution is ghoulish. I just think it's more apparatchiks and pen pushers, personally. I think it costs a lot of money. Renationalisation, at once upon a time, I'd have been for it, but I know what the price tag is for that, and it can't be done. And he wants to cosy up to the EU, and they're not going to allow him to do it anyway with any sort of dynamic alignment with the single market. So there's a lot of bump fear that really does need cross-examination. The problem is he's not doing interviews. He's not having a grilling from Paxman or Andrew Neil or anyone like that. He's not answering questions to the press. The press aren't even asking him questions, for crying out loud. And he's trying to tell us that he's going to do these relatively radical things. Surely at least a general election would smoke these policies out. He could start with a fresh mandate. He could write his own manifesto if he wanted to, with Manchesterism, Burnhamism, whatever you want to call it. And we'd actually have a blimmin' say, because right now, I feel like democracy is a bit dead.
Well, first of all, yes, I'd be very happy if he called a general election. Why? Because if Andy Burnham thought we could go to the country, it means he thinks we can win. So we'd be ahead in the opinion polls. But if there was a general election next week, Alex, then we'd lose the election.
But that's my problem. That's my problem. Optional democracy will only call an election if the polls say we're going to win it. That ain't how it works. That's not democracy.
Well, it's not optional democracy, Alex. Right. You might be surprised by this, Alex, but when you vote in the election in my constituency of Eastall, against the Labour candidate, if they let me back in, it will say Carl Turner. It doesn't say whoever it might be who leads the party. We don't have a presidential system.
No, I get that.
We have a parliamentary.
I get that.
Democracy.
I get that. No, I get that. Carl,
Give me a second. Just give me 1 second. Right. Now, when we were in opposition and the Tories was changing leader every 15 minutes, people like me were saying they've no mandate, call an election.
Yeah.
That's what politicians do. We're hypocrites, Alex. I'm as bad as any of them. That's what we do. But let me just tell you the truth about something which is fairly obvious to anybody.
Yeah.
If there was an election next week in Eastall, the Reform candidate would be the MP. Now, I've got to vote in Parliament to decide whether we have an election. I'm not a turkey, and if I was, I wouldn't be voting to be plucked and put in the oven. So we won't have an election until we think we can win it. But with Andy Burnham, I think it might be an early election. Why? Because I think the opinion polls will turn in our favour. Why will that happen? Because people will see a difference. And that's what we all need, Alex.
See, I love your candour. Can I just say, Carl, it is so rare to have a politician actually just tell us the truth, warts and all. And look, I get that we have a party political system, not a presidential system, but what I see is all the party leaders running presidential campaigns. Andy for us, back Kemi. You know, they're playing games like it's a presidential system, but it isn't. And there's a big difference, right, between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And I get that you can change leader however much you like. If the party decides they want to change leader and the members of that party vote for the leader to change, then we have to lump it because we vote for a party. I get that. But it doesn't make it OK. It doesn't make it OK that 8 out of the 10 most recent prime ministers have basically not campaigned, you know, under their own flag, under their own manifesto, under their own leadership to be elected. It's not OK. It might be a foible of the system. It might be a loophole. It might be what people get to do, but it doesn't make it feel democratic. That doesn't give me any reassurance that I matter.
Well, it's not a foible and it's not a loophole. It's the system we have under an unwritten constitution. It's called a parliamentary democracy. And I get it, people don't like it much when leaders change. It annoys them because they didn't vote for that party's leader to be the Prime Minister. But in actual practice, Nobody ever does vote for the leader. As I said, Andy Burnham's name won't be appearing on my ballot paper in East Hull. It'll be Carl Turner if the party will have me as the candidate, and that's a matter for them. But that is the system, Alex, and we've got to either change the system, which I think is potentially a possibility in the sense that we ought to have a more democratic system, a system of proportional representation, perhaps, but that is the system we have, and if you're going to change the constitution, you ought to go to the country in a referendum. I hope we have a general election. I hope it's a week on Thursday. It won't be. I wished it was, because if it was going to be an early election, we'd win it, because that's what the poll would tell us.
I love your candour, Carl. By the way, what's your dog? I want to meet the dog. I saw the dog.
Yes, Charlie is a little Bichon Frise. He's my little mate, and he comes with me everywhere, to be fair.
Lush.
Including in Parliament, but Mr. Speaker won't have him in the chamber, but he comes everywhere else.
Carl,
with me.
don't you worry, we live in a woke society. Call him your emotional support animal. You can, happily take him on the green benches. With those bins as well, you're doing a good Ray Charles act anyway, so, shove a high-vis jacket on that dog and you'll get away with it. Carl, so good catching up with you. You're one of our favourites because interviews like that are just absolute dynamite. Drive safely. That was candour. He's like, yeah, we'll only call a general election if we're going to win it. I'm not going to vote for a general election because I'd lose my seat to Reform, but if I think I'm going to win it... But that is how politics works. He is right. He's telling us the truth, and actually it's kind of nice. It might be ugly, but it's nice to actually hear for the first time somebody not treating us as if we're all stupid, and they can say that white is black and black is white and good is right, good is wrong and wrong, all that stuff. And we're just going to, imbibe it constantly.
Yeah, the trouble is, underneath all of that, he's admitting a number of things. One is that we don't have a democracy. The other is that if we did, he wouldn't be in his position. There would be a Reform MP. And as much as the candour's fun, it's not me that's the MP. I've got candour, you've got candour. But if I stand up as MP and I give it all the large ones and aren't I funny, that is not representing democracy. That is not representing the people of East Hull. That man, who's just off on his holidays, is basically telling us that he's in a position that he knows he wouldn't be in if the people of East Hull had a vote. And for me, that's the epitome of what's wrong with our system.
Right. But I just liked it being spelled out. I liked the candour.
Yeah.
I respect the candour. I think that is so important. There are politicians in this world who get elected knowing full well that at some point they're not going to be elected and don't try to stay elected. In fact, there are politicians in this world who got elected and then campaigned to lose their seats. I was one of them, and I'm very proud, as a Brexit Party MEP, that I got that knowing. Every time they gave us an extension, like, you've got to do 3 more months in this Parliament, and that Parliament paid well. Far better than this blooming job, I'll tell you that much. It is like eating lentils compared to the luxury of Brussels. But every single time they're like, oh, we're going to extend it, we're going to extend it. We were all like, no, we really want to lose our massive salaries and our chauffeur-driven cars, because we did. Because we were real people who cared about you. Exactly. Right, let's take a short break. On the other side, we're going to be speaking to the Deputy Chair of the Conservative Party, Matt Vickers.
Some breaking news. 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. Been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the Reform agenda.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back, and let's go straight to Matt Vickers, MP, Deputy Chair of the Conservative Party, who joins us now. Thank you for giving up a portion of your Sunday to answer questions today, Matt, because Andy Burnham don't like doing that, does he?
Certainly not. Yeah, good morning. I mean, you saw what went on in there last week. We tried to bring him to the dispatch box one day this week to just tell us what his vision for the country was. This country is facing huge crises, and he's got no answers. We haven't heard anything about what he's going to do on defence. We haven't heard anything about what he's going to do to get taxes down. We haven't heard anything about what he's going to do to deal with that ballooning welfare bill, expected to go up £18 billion this year, about that energy crisis and the fact people's energy bills are through the roof. Businesses are going to the wall because they can't afford the taxes and the energy bills that they've got to pay. We didn't hear any of it. The Prime Minister in there should be losing sleep over defence. The Secretary of State resigned because we aren't properly protecting this country. Yet the guy who's about to rock up in number 12, he's not even rocking up in number 10, he's going to work from home apparently. He's going to skip off into the sunshine for his summer holidays without dealing with that crisis. It's terrifying.
Well, it is. And do you know what? There's something really weird about democracy, you know, comes from demos, the people, and crasis, power, that we have this little device called an election. And via the power of elections, we get to ask questions about policy and scrutinise those things. So why is it Kemi Badenoch is so allergic to democracy? Why isn't she standing anyone in Clacton? Why is she saying Andy Burnham doesn't need to call an election yet? Why did the Conservative Party join the Labour Party in trying to cancel local elections for 5 million people? Because that's the way to get questions answered, isn't it?
There's a few questions you've thrown at me there, and I'll take them all, Alex.
All right.
The reality is we're ready for an election whenever it might come. We've got a plan for government. We know how we're going to deal with welfare. We know what we're going to do with tax. We know what we're going to do to get people's energy prices down, whether that be drilling in the North Sea properly, whether that be removing those renewable levies, whether that be removing those carbon tariffs so that people can actually afford to pay their electricity bills. On defence, we've got a plan. We know what we're going to do. We know that we're going to get rid of that two-child cap and put more troops into our armed forces. We know that we're going to bring forward that sovereign defence fund, taking money from some of this eco-nuttery and the net zero projects and spend it on defence. So that's our readiness for a general election. What else do we have? Come at me again, Alex.
Yeah, so why aren't you standing in Clacton?
So we aren't standing in Clacton because it's not a proper by-election.
Why is it not a proper by-election? It's a by-election. It's been called. There are people.
Rules. Well, we know your political perspective, and I'll give you mine.
I like
so
democracy,
my view is that there are rules. And reform. There are rules in place in this country to stop politicians taking money, not disclosing it, secretly taking money from all sorts of wealthy people, whether they be convicted fraudsters or not. But what we've set in place in this, rightly in my opinion, is that politicians who go in there and vote on legislation should tell us where their money is coming from. They should declare it to the public, and then their actions in there, whether they're influenced or not by that money that they're getting in their back pocket, will be seen. I think those rules are in place for a good reason. I think it's right that everybody, no matter how popular they are in parts of the world or not, no matter what their agenda might be, I think it's right those rules are in place.
All right, so is that why?
I think it's right that when somebody... I think it's right that when there are question marks about that people should answer the questions. When those questions are answered, we may or may not have a by-election there in September, October. We'll be fielding a candidate should it be the case.
Right, and is that why you're chairman, you know, because you're deputy chairman, so I don't know if you're acting up at the moment. I don't mean like a toddler, I mean acting up in terms of he's had to step down, hasn't he? Because
I'm always acting up.
He's being investigated himself, isn't he? What's he being investigated for? Apparently lobbying the Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards over the independent officer's decision-making. I mean, come on, you're all as bad as each other. The rules apply to nobody, but, you know, only those people that you dislike.
No.
Right.
So the reality is that if somebody is taking money and they're not answering questions about it, even if it's a convicted fraudster, I think they should be held to account. I think they should go in there and answer the questions. Kevin seems like some I don't know who suggested that he'd broke any rules. It'll be investigated in there. In fact, I think he was on this channel taking your questions this week, and he'll be on your channel taking questions next week. Kevin's not afraid of taking questions and giving answers. He's not going to try and bypass the rules by having some by-election and make a load of scene and have a hissy fit. He'll take the questions, he'll answer them properly, and that case will be put to bed.
But hold on, the thing is, you know, I think you guys would have wanted Nigel Farage to face a by-election anyway. I think he anticipated that the parliamentary watchdog was going to just turn it into a fait accompli. So he's like, come on, let's do this. But anyway, regardless of whether you like the fact he called that by-election or not...
If he broke the rules...
Well, shouldn't you stand in it?
If he broke the rules, then he should face the sanctions. Anybody who breaks the rules should face those sanctions. If he has broke the rules and a by-election does take place in September, October, we'll fight that by-election.
OK, do you think it was all right? Did you think it was all right for Josh Simons to stand down in Makerfield so Andy Burnham could trigger another by-election in Greater Manchester so they could just, you know, change who's at the top of the Labour Party? Was that OK? Was that in the spirit of democracy in politics? Do you think that was OK to call that by-election in Makerfield?
I think that people put their trust in an MP to serve 4 years. I think it was disappointing that Josh Simons decided to jump out the way to allow Andy Burnham. But it's worked in the end.
But you stood in that one, though. You didn't decide that one was a fake news by-election. You decided that one was worth standing in.
Because this wasn't a distraction or a bypass of the rules. It wasn't an attempt to have a hissy fit.
Because it wasn't Nigel Farage and reform. I get it.
If Nigel Farage has brought the rules, do you think he should be held to account or not?
Absolutely, and that's the process that is seemingly going to be taking place whether he wins his by-election.
Do you agree that there should be rules in place that mean that the money that MPs and politicians take from private interests is transparent and seen by people across the country so they can see what is inspiring their decisions? Exactly. So you agree that he should be subject to that standards investigation. He should answer the questions about where he's brought his money from and how it might or might not have influenced his position. That's the right thing to do. The independent standards body will make that decision.
I'll tell you what I like. I'll tell you who I support. I'll tell you where I put all of my, you know, gumph. That is behind people and that is behind democracy. Now, I'm not here to support any particular party or individual. I'm here to support the people.
I think you are. Come on.
No. Quite frankly, I'm not. And actually, if I was, I wouldn't be allowed to sit here and do my job. Ofcom might have some thoughts on that. I was elected for the Brexit Party about a gazillion years ago, party that doesn't exist anymore, who sat in, you know, a parliament that we're not even part of anymore. And since then, I've gone back to journalism, which is the profession I trained to do before I departed for politics. And what I really care about is democracy. What I care about is whether or not you agree with this by-election being called in Clacton, or whether or not you agreed with the by-election being called in Makerfield, or whether or not you agreed with whether local government elections should be cancelled. I just think when there's blimmin' elections, there are people at the end point of this, and they deserve to be taken seriously. And quite frankly, your party is not taking the people of Clacton seriously by chortling about a blimmin' bin. I think it's rude. I think it's rude to people, 60,000 odd people in that constituency. I think it's very dismissive.
I think we both agree. That if Nigel Farage has broken those rules and the independent commissioner finds that is the case, then there should be a by-election, it should be fought. If Nigel Farage wants to have a hissy fit, go and spend his summer arguing with a bin, that's on him. We're worried about the defence of this country.
No, this is how you're framing it. This is how people like you, this is how the establishment are wanting to frame it, because they're boycotting it. Why would you boycott democracy? Why would you?
I think most people would argue I'm not very much part of the establishment, actually, Alex, but I think that if he's brought the rules and there's a by-election, we will fight that by-election. At the moment, do you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about the fact that there are 1 million young people across this country not able to get an education, employment or training. The fact there are 19% more people in this country unemployed, unable to provide for their families, deliver on their ambitions and their dreams. That is terrifying. The fact that graduate recruitment, youngsters who've gone to university and worked hard to get a degree, graduate recruitment is an all-time record low as a result of the decisions made by this government to batter businesses with business rates, with the national insurance increase, with the employment rights bill. Those are real things that are affecting the people I represent. That's what I'm going to be worrying about this summer. I'm going to be worrying about whether we're defending our nation. I'm going to worry about what that welfare spend is doing to hard-working people who are paying taxes. That's the debate I want. If people want to go and argue with a bin, they're welcome to get on with it.
But you guys are allowing yourself to be represented by a bin. You are the bin. Can't you see that? You are the bin. You've all decided you want a bin to represent you. I just think that's mad.
The people of Clacton will... the people of Clacton will make their own decisions. I think many of them will want to hear the answers to the questions about where this money came from, about what came from the convicted fraudsters, about what was or wasn't declared. They'll want to see those questions answered, and I want to see those questions answered, and then people can make a decision about if something's been done wrong or not. In the meantime, if he wants to have a hissy fit, try to bypass that process and argue with the bin, the people of Clacton will have to make their own decisions.
You are the
They'll
bin!
have to choose between the bin and the rubbish.
You're being the bin. That's what I'm talking about. I don't understand why this is, why you can't see this. You want to go have those questions answered. You want to give Nigel Farage a hard time. You want him to face a grilling. You want members of the public to be able to put forward to their politicians, what do you represent? What have you done? You stand in elections. That is what the system is. You stand in elections. Stop being frit.
I don't want to see anyone unnecessarily grilled. However, if there is a perception that they broke the rules, they should answer the questions. If Nigel Farage hasn't broken any of the rules, if he's declared things appropriately, if he hasn't took money from sources he shouldn't have, then the commissioner, the independent standards commissioner, would find that and there wouldn't be a by-election in September, October. This thing that's going on all summer, arguing with a bin, it's a bit of a sideshow. It's a distraction from the issues that this country is facing.
You chose to be the bin, no one else. All right, Matt, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you giving up your time on this Sunday. Oh, do you know what we got to do now?
What do I do now?
The C word came up, didn't it? This is the list. Yeah, it's that time. We got to do every candidate.
Because there's more people than ever.
There's more people blooming standing in Clacton than there are. I don't know.
As you're doing that...
With brain cells in Parliament.
We should probably just say goodbye to everyone, because by the time you're finished... It'll
be time to go home. Oh, my God. Some of the names. Here we go. Are you ready? Why did I get myself into this? Joseph 77, Independent. Adam Alcatip, the Forward Party. Count Binface, the Count Binface Party. Nick, the Incredible Flying Brick, the official Monster Raving Loony Party. Tony Kane, Independent. Woke Trump Kazi, Independent. William Stewart James Clouston, Social Democratic Party. Actual politician. Rhys Cowan, Independent. Glenn Charles Cummings, Independent. Martin Davis, Freedom Alliance, Real People, Real Alternative. Andy Earlham, Independent. Nigel Farage, Reform UK. Atia Fard, Independent. Lawrence Fox, the Reclaim Party. Tony Francis, Independent. Robin Green, Independent. Abby Hookway, Independent. Howling Lord Hope, the official Monster Raving Loony Party. How do they get two candidates? I don't understand how that works. Stephen Richard Ingram, Independent. Amy Morris, Independent. Derek Norbert Morris, Independent. Oh, seems like a family affair going on there. Michael Noel O'Keefe, Independent. Martin O'Brien, Independent. Nick Pellas, Independent. Ketan Kumar Pipalaya, UK Voice for Safer and Stronger UK. Daniel Pocock, Independent. James Ramsley, Consensus Party candidate. Jerry Smith, Independent. Kai Stevens, British Democrats. John Stevens, Rejoin EU. Baron von Thunderclap, the official Monster Raving Loony Party. Can you actually have three candidates in one party? That ain't making sense to me.
It's a broad church, the Monster Raving Loony Party.
Pamela Walford, Independent. Marcus White, Everyone is God Party. And Mark Wilkinson, Independent. I'm sorry, but if I lived in Clacton, I just feel like everyone was laughing in my face.
You are absolutely right. Matt Vickers was entirely disingenuous. I've met Matt. I worked with Matt just this Tuesday, just gone. Lovely fella, but entirely disingenuous about this local by-election. This is my opinion. It will be the only by-election in Clacton. The idea that Nigel Farage can go to Clacton and then get voted in, which he will do, and then 3 or 4 people in Parliament tell the people of Clacton that that's not good enough, you're going to have to vote again, will totally undermine 1,000 years of democracy, and we'll see the very end of what we are seeing now. So I firmly believe this will be the only one. And
for me, this the bin thing that I just think
by the way,
is
why are they
disgusting.
endorsing the bin? You have just read out 33 candidates. Every single other MP is endorsing one candidate. Why are they doing that? Why is nobody scrutinising that? Why isn't there a committee that's looking at the bias of this particular election so far? It's incredibly biased. Newsnight had Count Binface on. They haven't had anybody else on.
I just find it so sick that they're all sitting there taking selfies going like, Count Binface, come sit next to me. I know it would be funny. Let's send a letter to the Speaker asking if he can wear his bin on his head when he gets elected. These people are laughing at us. They're laughing at democracy. They think we don't deserve anything more than some comedian who thinks that it's all a big game. And, you know, they think the joke is on Farage. I'm afraid by doing that, they think the joke is on us, basically.
Of course.
Because they're like, look, you don't have to agree or disagree with whether he should have called a by-election. There is one. There is an election. You didn't have to disagree or agree with whether Josh Simon should stand down and there'd be a by-election to get Burnham in. There was one. When there's an election, that is an opportunity for people, and it's not just about putting an X in the box when you go to the ballot box. It's about having a period of time where all of these things are argued in public. It's about sunlight being the greatest disinfectant. And I just think the bin couldn't be a better optic, quite frankly, for what has become of, you know, democracy in a trash can. What has become of UK politics, because they thought it was all right changing Prime Minister, leadership changes in Conservative parties every 5 seconds. They thought it was OK to cancel local elections. They thought it was OK, some people in the Conservative Party, to push back after the Brexit referendum. They thought it was OK, didn't they? All the other times that they messed about with the plebiscite, but all of a sudden, when it's one that they don't think they're going to win, they don't want to partake. All democracy is democracy. All constituencies are made equal. All voters have the same right to representation, the same right to accountability, the same right to scrutiny, and this arguing with a bin posture that the establishment think they're so clever to adopt, I think they are revolting. I think they're all just jostling to be able to sit in the green room of blimmin' have I got news for you, look like the big I am, because they're all celebrities, really. They all want to get on TV, they all want to get on radio, they all want to look all smug and smart, and they love the sound of their own voice, they want a newspaper column, they can't wait to be phoned up by a producer, but only to the interviews that aren't going to be scary. Ooh, only to the things where their scripted lines can be read out on air so they don't get caught short. But when it comes to actually having to look in the whites of the eyes of the voters, knocking on doors, answering questions, are they prepared to do it? No. And that is what's been going on. Not right now, but for 15 years. 15 years. And we're tired. And we're exhausted, and we feel like they are ripping the proverbial out of us, because they are. And I don't care how many smug politicians are proud of this dichotomy between Farage and a bin. I don't think it's like Emperor's New Clothes. I don't think they can see themselves in the mirror.
Look, it should never be forgotten by the people of Clacton that those people in Clacton that would like to vote Labour, that would like to vote Greens, that would like to vote the Lib Dems, that hate Nigel Farage, now don't have a choice. They don't have democracy. They can vote for any one of those other people. And by the way, they're not even guaranteed that who they vote for will remain in Parliament longer than maybe 6 weeks before there's another by-election, because of the way they are talking. The very people setting the rules and shaping the narrative and trying to frame Nigel Farage are the very people in charge of the whole process. Yeah. OK? There is nothing... I will stand by this. There is nothing illegal in what Nigel Farage has done. Zero
No, it's about whether
illegal.
Or not a technicality
if you
of
don't like
happened.
the person that's donated, that's your prerogative, but that's not illegal, OK? And we know that he's said that £5 million was for his personal security. Are you telling me in the wake of Anne Widdecombe's murder that that's not justified? Right. It might be incredibly inconvenient, and God bless Anne Widdecombe, but the truth of the matter is Anne Widdecombe is likely to have been murdered because of her political views. If you don't like Nigel Farage, you can't kill him, you can vote him out.
Right, so go and represent yourself in that constituency, because what they're saying to the people of Clacton who hate Nigel Farage, and there'll be people in Clacton who hate Nigel Farage, is you don't get to have anybody but Nigel Farage because the alternative's a blimmin' bin.
Correct.
Oh, all right, we were going to do Joy Day today, weren't we? But this is what catharsis is all about. You get things off your chest, you
I'm getting some joy. I'm getting some joy from this.
I feel joy, joy, joy.
Do you know what? Let's have a caller, or let's have a voice message from someone in Clacton.
Oh, you're producing the show now, right? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, if you're in Clacton. Yes, please. If you are a Clactonite, we would love to hear from you. 03444 99 1000. That is, oh gosh, I know it. We'll just do it again because we want to hear the voice of the people. So if you are in Clacton, don't tell us who you're going to vote for, but tell us what you think about the fact that you have this by-election taking place in your constituency. 03444 991 is the number to call. It's your normal network rate. You can leave me a voicemail on WhatsApp or send me a WhatsApp message, 8722, if you want to send a text like the word talk. Before you send your message after the break, we're joined by, as we always are, the brilliant Philip Kisserly, who's a senior fellow at the New Culture Forum. That's after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
All right, welcome back. I just want to do a couple of messages. Kim says, Alex, a brilliant interview, thanks. He could not answer that the bin is representative of Tories, Labour and the Greens and Libs. He kept repeating his response. After watching Farage at CPAC, I'm now going to Reform UK. Love you, Alex, your sister in Christ. God bless you today. Morning, Alex and Paul. Andy Burnham won't last till Christmas. I've had enough of him already. Yeah. And he's turned me right off. New order now. It'll definitely be a Blue Monday tomorrow, says Mark in Stratford.
Lovely work.
Sarah in Stockton-on-Tees says, well said, Alex. Beautifully articulated as always. Apart from Reform, the rest of Westminster are laughing at us. So the Tory party manifesto is to attack Farage all the time. Zzz. I think someone says zzz, not Bumblebee.
No, it's sleeping.
Sleeping. Not bee buses. Because, you know, Labour Party, what do? Kids have breakfast and they got buses with bees on. Hey! No. Alex, Matt, part of the Uniparty, if the Conservatives were confident they would run, when their version of a proper election happens after the inquest, they'll have to run and they will lose. In fact, the Uniparty essentially driving additional cost by enabling two elections, not fiscally responsible. That's the whole point. I think if when Rachel Reeves said, yes, there can be a by-election because the Chancellor approves it or not, to then not stand in it, it's just a joke, isn't it? You guys on fire today. Excellent. Keep it together, Alex, says someone. Just, honestly, accidental word day, word slip day is that. Yeah. Just is such a, I don't know, like, why? Stop it. We've got, no. I can't. Every time I remember what you said this morning, I have to have a period of time where I don't make eye contact.
Period, eh?
Shut up! Right, let's speak to, thank God, Phillips here, saved by Mr. Kisserly, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. Good morning, Philip. How are you?
Hi, Alex. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm all right. I feel a bit balmy today, if I'm honest, but there you go. Some days you just have days where you wake up and get out of bed and you feel super happy and joyful, but you kind of lose the plot a bit. I think that's my vibe today. Now, let us talk about some... You're, you know, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, and I've got some culturally related stories for us to dig around in. Quite a few, actually. I want to start off with this one, which is an investigation has been opened after artwork posted on Instagram alongside From the River to the Sea slogan has been revealed that the branch of a Scout association encouraged children to paint for Gaza and shared artwork carrying the controversial phrase. The Muslim Scout Association, which is a branch of the wider association that operates across the UK, held the painting challenge in collaboration with the charity Islamic Relief to show Palestinian children love and support. Why is there a Muslim Scout Association? Can't we just have Scouts? And actually, once upon a time, when was it Baden-Powell who set up the Scouts, it was all about God as well. Christian God. Why do we have to keep letting this stuff happen?
Because now it's about the DEI God, isn't it? And it's clearly about Islamism now, because we're in this sectarian world. I was reading this and I was just so appalled by it, because frankly it's child abuse, isn't it? It's indoctrinating children. It's pushing them into a kind of ideology that celebrates essentially the obliteration of Jews, the obliteration of the Jewish state, the obliteration of Israel. That's what From the River to the Sea means. Now, these children have absolutely no idea what's going on. They are innocents here. They are in the Scouts, for God's sake. They should be concentrating on tying knots and getting badges and swimming in their pajamas and all of that kind of stuff. You know, simple stuff that we used to do as children, and we weren't encumbered by not only politics, but also sectarian terrorist type politics that are foisted on these children. Now, this is about the broader picture here, isn't it? This is about DEI, and this is about the capitulation to Islamism. I'm not talking about Muslims here, I'm talking about Islamism. This is very definitely political. Now, they go from the Scouts, they go to school, they watch children's television, and all of this stuff is just threaded through their whole experience in this country. So by the time they're 15, 16, 17, by the time they're going to university to get the proper full end of their indoctrination, they have no idea what it actually feels like to be British or to live in a democracy, or feel, you know, what it should feel like to grow up in a free society, because they have no experience of that whatsoever. So for me, this is child abuse, and yes, it should be looked at. I
agree. I mean, look, I've just read here the founder's original vision of the Scouts, which is in the foundational book of 1908, Scouting for Boys. Robert Baden-Powell wrote about aiming for the practice of Christianity in everyday life and dealings, and not merely the profession of theology on Sundays. He believed that a spiritual grounding, which he called duty to God, was absolutely vital to a young person's development, but he famously remarked that religion does not come into scouting. It's already there, it's a fundamental factor underlying scouting, but he purposefully distinguished scouting from groups like the Boys Brigade, which operated strictly as Christian evangelical organisations. It's scouting scouts. We don't need Muslim scouts, we just need scouts. And do you know much about these summer training camps, by the way? Because I've been discussing this the last couple of days, because I had a, spine-tinglingly harrowing conversation with people who are very closely related to the intelligence community. And they were talking about, do you know about these summer camps where they're all doing paintballing and parkour? And basically, they're potentially jihadists. That's terrifying.
Well, I mean, what the Scout movement should be, it should be training people to participate in society. It really should be about citizenship, and it should be about kind of understanding the people around you. What this is doing is the polar opposite, isn't it? This is kind of setting you up as a particular person with a set of very extremist ideas. And these summer camps, what they do is enable these kids to put these extremist ideas into practice. It's really frightening, actually. I think that's what this is about. But it's about setting up people who are against you. It's about saying, well, those people are wrong because they're this kind of person. Those people are wrong because they think this. You are perfectly right. You are in the shape of God, not the God that's been, that is to do with this country, but the ideological version of Islam, which is rooted in the Middle East. It's all completely wrong, but it's really worrying if you think about what these children are going to be like in 10 years' time. Now, we've had this for such a long time, and we see every year on year, this society gets more violent, it gets more fragmented, it gets more unhinged, and this is the reason why. And yet it's happening in clear sight here. Nobody is really doing anything about it, or nobody has done anything about it until now. It feels like we don't learn any lessons at all. This is the problem. It's Groundhog Day. It's just day after day after day. We get the same thing over and over, and now we're living in a society where, politicians are attacked or killed because of what they think, because people are so extreme, because people are so indoctrinated, because people are so mentally ill. And if you think about where this unhingedness, mental illness comes from, it comes from indoctrination in the schools, in the heritage media, all of these things, and now in the Scout movement.
Totally agree. We've got to flush it out. I've got to ask you about this story. The Tate brothers, who've been arrested in the US after more charges are laid against them in the UK. The Crown Prosecution Service said Andrew Tate was being charged with 7 further counts of rape, as well as other charges related to alleged crimes, including sex trafficking and indecent images of a child. Tristan Tate has been charged with 1 count of sexual assaults, 2 counts of rape and 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation. These are extremely serious charges. The CPS, to be able to bring this to the point of being able to arrest someone, a certain threshold of evidence has to be surpassed. Now, what I don't understand is why there are people out there who seem to think this is some sort of lawfare against the manosphere. These are extremely serious allegations. This isn't games. This isn't trying to stop a political movement. I don't get why there are people out there going, well, this is terrible, I hope Trump intervenes to make sure they're not, you know, extradited. But why? Why can't, but like that isn't a laughing matter. This isn't lawfare. This isn't about free speech. This is about whether or not people have been raped as kids and trafficked.
Yeah, this is about sexual violence and some of the most obscene crimes, you know, if it's true. I mean, there's such a terrible thing going on here. These brothers have such an influence, but it's such a malign influence. And that is really tragic, because there are millions and millions of young boys out there who desperately need positive role models. They desperately need people to talk to them, okay, and give them advice. What they have are these idiots talking to them, and they're precisely the wrong people. But there needs to be, people need to step up. Men need to step up. Men who treat women with respect, who value the notion of family, community, society, who understand what masculinity means and how it plays out in this 21st century context. So I think what we need to do is we need to treat these horrible people with the full weight of the law, and if they are guilty, then just get rid of them. What we also need to do is focus on young people and boys in particular, right? There is a crisis of masculinity out there, okay? I know I was in education for 25 years. It was the university sector, but I used to talk to boys who were completely lost, who were told, especially white working class boys, that they were the, you know, the source of all evil. Everything, society, especially the intellectual mechanisms of society, was set against them. So there is a catastrophe out there. There is a crisis of masculinity. People need to talk to boys and tell them that actually they're okay, that being masculine, being white, being male is perfectly okay, and respecting women is perfectly okay. But instead, because there is that gap, and people don't talk to boys in this way, you have these horrible creatures stepping in, and all of this horrible, ridiculous, violent sexism presented as masculinity. And it's wrong on every level, Alex.
No, like I said, these are very serious allegations of extremely serious crimes. They need to face legal interrogation without a doubt. This is not some lawfare thing. Philip, thank you ever so much. It's always so good having you on the programme. One of the good ones, one of the last few remaining men who are men. What happened? Why have they all gone farming?
Well, because the reward structure, the reward system changed. You know, masculinity, men were not rewarded for being men. The word masculinity was preceded by toxicity or toxic every single conversation. So people who wanted to get on in the world, particularly the Western or Anglosphere, decided that in order to get on, they needed to feminise and capitulate to this ridiculous narrative. I mean, the idea that white working class British boys have been so vilified is absolutely ridiculous. These are the lads that built this country. These are the lads that won the World Cup.
Right.
These are the lads that shout the loudest trying to protect women from Islamists. These lads will be rewarded at some point. Now, is there an issue within that community about how to behave sometimes? Yes, but we need, instead of vilifying them, we need to talk to them about what it is that they can do for society. Because if you look around, there is no other group of men that can help the country as much as they can or have done in the past. And I just find it absolutely, well, saddening that we now have spent 20, 30 years telling young boys that they're the problem, particularly young white boys, and said they've got to stand aside for absolutely everybody else. It's untold damage, absolutely untold damage, and we're now starting to see that.
No, totally. I think it comes down to as well this sort of culture of instant gratification. And when people get drugged up on instant gratification, guess what goes out the window? Responsibility. Yes. Right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we want to speak to some of you. So pick up the phone and dial this number. You're tempted, I know. 03444 991,000. It's your normal network rate. You can also use that number to send me a WhatsApp message. You can leave us a voice note on WhatsApp on that number. 87222 is the number to send a text message. Like the word talk before you text. We're back after this.
Some breaking news. 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. They've been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the reform agenda.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I've been nagging Paul. He's got to come visit me in the wilds of the West Country. And he's like, yes, we've got to do it. It'll be fun. We've got to hang out. He wants to come down my infamous local, because it is the best pub on earth. And no, I'm not going to dox it out. Thank you very much. In the aftermath of new security protocols. It's not an open invitation to everybody, but it is to Mr. Paul Cox. He says, yes, we've got to get a date for it. And I'm like, well, when do you want to come? And he's like, shall I ask the viewers?
What date in August should I go to?
Yeah, it's got to be between... Obviously, I'm on air Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I'm in London. So there's no point in going down my house at the weekend because he's also in London. So basically, he just needs you because, you know, like I said, lack of instant gratification is a lack of responsibility before the break. We got it in action. So we need you to tell him when he's coming to come and visit me.
Which Wednesday in August?
Which Wednesday in August is he coming down? Oh, you coming as well, Ratty? Oh, well, we'll go in then. OK, right, we're all going. Great. There we are. It's going to be fun.
It will be fun.
Shall we do some messages? And shall we, let's dive into the box of delights, shall we? Alex and Cox on fire this morning. I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. It's an emotional roller coaster. We start off going, we're going to have all the joy, positivity. Let's make this about love and light and laughter. It's like, I'm not going to take it anymore. I give up. Anyway, guess who's messaged?
Claire? Get in, Claire.
Get in, Claire, in Buckley in North Wales. Morning, Alex. I usually like Matt Vickers, but after that interview, he's lost my respect. I hate the way the main parties are sneering at the by-election. They should be ashamed. They think they're clever, but instead, all they're proving is their complete lack of value of democracy. Plebs, a lot of them. Joanna in Salisbury. Hi, guys. Digital ID is not dead. I can't see the government giving up on that much control or how they can sell information based on where we use the ID. Exactly.
Correct.
Alex, I grew up with Andy Pandy, the Wooden Tops, Pogleswood and Bill and Ben. Says David in Lancashire. I don't know what Pogleswood, Pogels,
They're fictional, David. You didn't grow up with them.
How do you know? Maybe he was in the props department and was literally handling the puppets.
Actually, it's a good point. I don't know anything.
You don't know that?
I don't know. I don't know.
In the days of Andy Pandy and the Flower Pot Men, there was a certain innocence that's been lost in today's society, says Don in Chelmsford. Too true. Morning, Alex. We've decided to have a breakfast barbecue.
Get in.
With steak and burgers. Finding happy, says Tanya in London. Breakfast barbecue. Yeah.
What she didn't say is that she's in prison and that's just how easygoing it is in there now.
What she didn't say is actually the toaster's burnt, now there's a fire in the kitchen, so she's got no choice in the matter. Alex, love the show. The people of this country are astute enough to see through the Burnham coronation. He cannot achieve anything unless he sacks the blob. He's just a different fart from the same backside. I bet you won't read that out. Well, I did, Edward, but I managed to edit in real time. That's what a good journalist does. Ofcom compliant me. Hi, Alex, great show. Burnham is the only Labour leader. The opposite side of the House should all walk out in protest when he's crowned PM. He should never be acknowledged as PM. He's just another puppet of the Fabian socialists, says Eric in Barnsley. And the wonderful Merv. I love Merv. I think about Merv a lot, actually. I totally agree with you regarding Kemi. I was beginning to like what I heard. Well, the mask is off now. She's pretending to act Farage. But given the power, the Lib Dems will pull all the strings again, says Merv. Love Merv. Thinking of you, Merv. Shall we do... Oh, this is good. This gets us back on track because it's a voice note on the importance of positivity.
It's a great show, Alex and Paul. I could listen to you guys all day, yeah? Proper banter, and it's proper funny. And obviously it's serious also, but I love it nonetheless. But you know what? With everything that's going on in this country, trying to find the light, trying to find the positive, trying to not get bogged down in that negative energy, it feels quite a challenge. But we need to have something to look forward to. We need that light, don't we? We need to have goodness in our heart. We don't need to be walking around like angry negatrons. And yeah, so trying to find that light in the dark is definitely the way to go.
Negatronism here.
I love the Negatrons.
We're not leftists.
We're against the Negatrons.
Hey, fight the Negatrons. But it's true. You can. I know, like, we all have to face horrible things in life, some more than others. People will be going through horrible, horrible things right now. And it's okay to feel sad, but don't get dragged down by the woeful, divisive, misery-making leftists. On that note, make a cup of tea. We're back after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
All right, welcome back. 2 hours have already passed.
I know, it's
and there's
incredible.
only 1 hour.
Increíble.
Politique. By the way, can I just say,
Yeah.
I went to get the earpiece out of the locker, Ted's locker, because Ted's my producer on Friday, and he's got a locker, and I keep all my stuff in there, because I don't have a locker. That's very unimportant. Anyway, so I normally keep my earpiece in there, which Ted has now hijacked since we were using it on CPAC down at the XL Centre. I don't know where it's gone. So lovely Mark Dolan, the most wonderful man on earth, who I adore, has given me this earpiece, which is great. So I went to get it out of Ted's locker, and it was in, so no one told me that this had arrived at News UK. It was in a mug, and on the outside of the mug, it said Alex Phillips, Weird Hour.
No way.
Someone's made...
Oh, no, I know who did this. I know who did this.
I didn't know about this mug. It was just in there.
Claire
Yeah?
sent that to us
Right.
probably 2 months ago.
What? Why am I only learning of this mug? Who opened my gift?
Did I never tell you?
Did you open it?
No, I've never seen it. And she'd messaged me via one of my social media / OnlyFans accounts and said that this was on the way. I don't even know if I ever told you. And she chased it.
So someone's been opening my post down News UK, opening my post and hiding it in lockers.
Claire from
I'm sorry,
Wales.
love. I don't know who's to blame for this.
I've completely forgotten.
Ratty, can you go get my magic mug out of Ted's locker, please? Thank you. I'm going to show everyone. It's so good. I'm very grateful. When people... Look, I got a really nice letter from someone today, actually. From
it's an actual letter.
James Harding. So thank you, James Harding. I've received your letter. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I do, you know, it's nice.
That mug must have been sent 2 months ago. Claire, I'll confirm.
Yeah, but I don't know who nicking my gifts. That's not OK. It's not what we do.
This is what we should be policing.
I want to put proper tea in my mug, and I'm not a communist. Proper tea is not theft.
Yeah, I want tea as well. Can someone get me tea?
Yeah, it'd be great to have tea in my specially made mug. Thank you very much. Oh, what does a girl have to do in this place?
Don't ask.
All right, now, let us turn our attention to matters Morica. Because Morica is coming out and doing some brilliant stuff of late. My goodness.
They're ahead of the curve.
Some of the chit-chat coming out of Trump, coming out of Rubio, is the finest, sweetest rhetoric I've ever heard. Donald Trump has started to bang on about fighting communism, and he is right to do so.
Absolutely.
Because it didn't go away, it wasn't defeated, it's now been elected in number 10. And it's infiltrated in an insidious manner every last little pore of the body politic and body public, and now increasingly creeping into the private sector. And Marco Rubio has picked up on the narrative. I don't know whether this is in response to the brutal murder of Anne Widdecombe, but he had this to say.
More than 80% of radical violence is now driven by far-left and anarchist actors. These are not abstract statistics. Americans have seen what those numbers mean. An all-out assault on our immigration officers, sniper attacks, explosives, armed ambushes. A transgender shooter opening fire on Catholic elementary school students as they pray, his gun marked with slogans like, "Where is your God now?" A healthcare executive executed in cold blood in the streets. Multiple assassination attempts on a sitting president. And the murder of the greatest conservative activist of a generation. A man who happened to also be a husband and the father of 2 young children, shot and killed while speaking to a crowd of students. This is a distinctive and unique evil. It has always been driven by a hatred, above all else, a hatred for civilization itself.
Well, let's speak now to the wonderful, brilliant, we haven't had him on for a while, I don't know why, we've been remiss because we love him. It's Byron Hollyhand, author of Make America Talk Again. First of all, Byron, congratulations. Look at you, young little thing, getting a book on the shelf so quickly. Extremely proud of you, young man. But let us talk about this because, you know, we have in the UK what you have in the US. You've had Antifa for a long time. We got the Socialist Workers' Party. We have had for far too long. Communism in plain sight, cultural Marxism in plain sight, everything from the environmental activists to the sort of, anti-racist activists, the BLM stuff, a lot of it being seed funded by hostile foreign organisations, dividing society, breaking us apart quite deliberately. This couldn't have come a minute later, could it, quite frankly?
You're spot on. America is a nation founded on protests. 250 years ago, we dumped some tea of y'all's into the Boston Harbor and founded a nation that gave us the First Amendment, a right to actually go out there and have this opportunity to protest. But when we open our phones and look on social media and see some of the same paid actors protesting on both sides of the coast with printed out signs, it looks a little bit too paid and a little bit too polished. 2 years ago this week, President Trump was shot in a field in Butler, Pennsylvania, and just 10 months ago, our friend Charlie Kirk was executed for just having an opinion that they disagreed with. These people have taken protests to an extreme because they cannot argue with us anymore. They just have to kill us. They don't have good policies. They don't have good candidates. So the only way that they can win is through violence and fear-mongering. And they think it's going to work, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, amazing article as well, can I just say, in the New York Post today. And I just want to read a little bit of this. Question authority, tear down institutions, challenge traditions, distrust capitalism, mock patriotism, treat faith as outdated, the family is optional, and America as something to apologise for instead of celebrate. That script isn't rebellious anymore, it's predictable, conformist and boring. And essentially, the idea that all of this stuff is dangerous is now the new rock and roll. I mean, are the kids really alt-right? Can we really look forward to the next generation, looking at what their parents have done and gone, that was so dreadful, we're going to chuck it all in the proverbial dustbin of history?
Yes, we can, thankfully, because we've seen the worst of big governments during COVID. We don't have to see a test subject or a history class to see what happens when government gets in control of our lives. In every aspect, we can just look at COVID. When they shut us out of schools, they strapped that diaper to our face. They told us we couldn't go visit our granny for holiday dinner, but we could go down the road because the strip clubs were open. None of it made sense to us, but that was because government controlled our lives. Now, what their goal is at the end of socialism, and that's just a fancy word to dress it all up, is to make government your God in life. So when they tell you that the big family is dangerous, when they tell you that patriotism is dangerous, when they tell you that actually having a relationship with God is dangerous, it's all because they only want you to depend and live off the government. And we're going to start living countercultural to that. The whole reason this has become a phenomenon is because my generation has this instant gratification need. So we've grown up in an era where if I want a coffee or a new pair of shoes or a new iPhone delivered to my door, I can click a button and guess what? There it is. But socialism isn't a click a button, one size fits all solution to fix all the world's problems, despite what it's been labeled as on social media.
We were talking about this earlier, actually, and I was saying that instant gratification, the flip side of that is shirking responsibility, basically. When you get so infantilized, so mummied that I want to have my mocha, I want to be able to watch porn, I want to watch this film on Netflix for free, I don't want to have to go to work, I'd rather work from home under a slanket. You know, I mean, we're just all bouncing around in baby grows at this point, which to me seems one of the primary reasons why the birth rate's going down.
Yeah, you're right. And exactly, why would we have to do anything except get off the couch if you know, in this ideal world, we could just completely live off the government? But it obviously doesn't work. And what I think people need to just take a look at is every single time socialism has been tried, it's failed. It's ripped apart the family structure, it's ripped apart the faith structure, and it's ripped apart the single nation that it's ever touched. So why in the world would we vote it in here? Because we've had people build rafts out of garbage to flee it, to come to our nations, to see freedom, and just like you said, it's going to be voted in the front door of 10 Downing Street or voted in the front door of the New York mayor's office, not snuck in through the back door. Stupid people are electing it into office just because they're so lazy that they think this is going to fix all the world's problems, and it's just going to create more.
Wait, what is the sort of origins of all of this, though? Because I always make the point that, you know, when you look back at the last century, America especially really went to town on fighting communism. You know, I shouldn't mention Vietnam, I guess. But, you know, the Berlin Wall came down, and it's like everyone just went, all right, done now. We won that war. Except we didn't. And actually what's happened is this cultural Marxism has become so insidious. It pervades every single institution in America, as it does in the UK. It's flooded the private sector. It's become neo-religious in its audacity. It has become, you know, you've got to be part of this or you will be ostracised, cancelled and punished. It has now got to the realms of becoming tyranny. And I was saying this, I was on Megyn Kelly's show the other day, and we were talking about the threat to politicians and the threat to people with right-wing attitudes in the media. And I was saying, but it's also ordinary people. It is the teacher in the classroom who feels that they couldn't come out and say that I voted for Trump. It is the small business that doesn't want to have to wave a pride flag, but risks being, I don't know, shut down by the local authorities if it doesn't. It is every single man, woman and child living in the West right now who knows, because they have been told, whether explicitly or otherwise, that if they don't think a certain way, speak a certain way, act a certain way and adopt a certain set of seemingly out of nowhere mad policies, such as men can be women, that they will be punished. And we all know that. And we live with that. And my argument is, if you fear the loss of something, if you live in a country where you think your livelihood could be taken away, that you could be socially shamed, that you could be financially punished, or at the very furthest end of the scale, you could be verbally or physically abused and attacked, then that's tyranny. And yet this has gone on now for, you know, a couple of decades. How did this begin?
So as we were worried about fighting socialism overseas, we had these protests in America that started sparking some socialism within our own country. And again, they called it socialism because it fit better on a bumper sticker. In reality, it was just communism dressed up a little bit nicer with some makeup. Now, what happened was we had a hippie movement here in this country. And during the hippie movement, we had a lot of these socialists become activists in professors' clothing, kind of sneak into our higher education system. And at first, it was just college. They said they needed more diversity in college. They needed some of these more free-thinking, liberated people in our universities. And of course, they got tenure and they stayed, and they trickled down all the way to pre-K now. And so when our students come through, they are indoctrinated about gender pronouns and how not to offend somebody, but they're not taught about how socialism is spelled in every country. Therefore, when we try to introduce it here, everybody's like, this brand new concept, socialism. Of course we will. So in this country today, I debated on campuses where students come up to me and say that they've written 2 versions of their essays to turn in. And I'll look at them and say, why would you do that? That's double the work. They say, well, the first version, they believed in. But before they submit their essay, they go back and re-edit it to make themselves sound liberal to get a better grade from these professors that are really activists. We've gone to war for other countries for lesser freedom. But here in this nation, we're literally self-censoring ourselves just to get a better grade, to get a degree from these people that are actually at the protests on the weekends, but are supposed to be educating us on the weekdays. It makes no sense.
Right, this is, I mean, if you are living in a society where you're having to self-censor for attitudes that are perfectly normal and non-dangerous and perfectly societally viable, you are living in a tyrannical regime. You are being actively oppressed. And I think that people need to wake up with this. And I'm very glad that you've got Marco Rubio and Donald Trump coming out and fighting this face on. Now, let us talk now about what is going on in the Middle East, because things aren't heading towards an easy solution there. What is America's attitude now to Iran? Because, you know, Donald Trump is in a situation where he's got to keep on, doesn't he? Iran wants this war. Donald Trump, as much as he might try and negotiate some sort of peace, it ain't going to happen with the IRGC. But does he face a backlash from Republicans who largely tend to be a little bit non-interventionist?
So I think I'm glad that we have a president who's not going to allow America to be trampled on anymore on the world stage. At the same time, he's a president that got into politics because he's anti-endless war, and I certainly think that the president is working to get us out of this war. Now, obviously, we pray for the families of the 2 service members that we lost yesterday, and there's obviously going to have to be retaliation for things like that. Previously, under our last president, who would have been asleep still right now, he would have, you know, been awoken to the news, I guess, at noon, and would have just, you know, put out a strongly worded statement and moved on. As you can tell from this president, we don't just send strongly worded statements anymore. If you chant death to America, if you attack our troops, we're going to retaliate. And if that means that this war continues a little bit, for us to be able to make sure that not only is not America at threat, but the rest of the world at threat from this terrorist regime that wants to take over the entire world, and that doesn't just include America, we're just the big bad villain in their eyes, then that's what's going to have to happen. But I think the president's been clear. I think this is definitely something he's going to work to wrap up before our midterm elections here here in America in November. We've already seen gas prices start to come down in the country. We hope that continues. But yes, there's definitely some patience running out as we see how long this is going to keep going.
Talk to me as well about how his speech landed about foreign interference in elections, because he did this dramatic number surrounded by his chiefs in security and intelligence, saying that he has got grave concerns that the Chinese can infiltrate American voting systems ahead of the midterms, produce the receipts. And yet what I saw from media in this country, typical reaction, is screaming about, oh, he's trying to gerrymander the results. He's pretending that the elections are going to be rigged because he can't win them. And yet, over here, when Trump actually won the first time round and we got Brexit, which happened at the same time, it wasn't because of democracy, it wasn't because the people have been listened to. No, it was Russia. Why is it that, you know, you're only allowed to admit to there being electoral interference when it's Russia messing about with turning everything right-wing, apparently, whereas China, who do have platforms such as TikTok, which are basically giant psyops, nothing to see here, no, don't you look over there, because it might be some communists trying to spread communism or something, I don't know. Try and explain to me, how did that land in America? Did people wake up and go, my goodness, we're under threat? Or has there been, you know, has it sort of gone in the wrong direction?
Well, it's exactly the same thing here, Alex. We had a lot of our media actors paint this as just another conspiracy theory attempt when the president laid out actual hard proof that China meddled in our elections to try to spread their communism in this country, to attack us and divide us from within, which is something that we've speculated on for years. And the president came into office is actually attacking that, delivering on the results, and hopefully we'll get some arrests from that as well, as we look forward to this not being allowed here in our country anymore and China not having an influence in our elections. But of course, the exact same media outlets that spent 24/7 coverage with a ticker tape on their screen for, what, 2 or 3 years, just counting down when President Trump was finally going to be caught red-handed for colluding with Russia. And then they finally had to admit that it was their own side that made up the fake evidence that Russia was even involved at all. Now there's silence when there's actual evidence to talk about China. So I definitely think that there's a double standard there that needs to be called out. They don't want to talk about this because they know that China helped their side of the aisle, and they just can't acknowledge that fact. Just like they can't acknowledge the fact that, say, we want to secure elections in this country by doing something which is called the Save America Act, which is really simple, Alex. It's nothing crazy. We just want to prove that Americans are voting in American elections, not Chinese, not Russians, not illegal immigrants. But the same people that are calling out this speech are calling out that act because they know that they have to depend on illegal votes to get elected. So they can't have us pass the Save America Act because they don't have enough IDs to get elected. It's crazy.
Oh, you've hit the nail bang on the head, as you always do, Byron. The brilliant author of Make America Talk Again, Byron Hollyhand. I'm sure you can go and get a copy of that online. He's a brilliant up-and-coming commentator. Well, up-and-coming, he's there. He's established. He's utterly sensational. But it is... Paul, I don't... This whole madness... Again, it's like, when is a by-election a valid by-election? Only when it can be won by the establishment. When is electoral interference only when something non-establishment wins at the ballot box? The same system, the same hypocrisy, the same gaslighting, the same gerrymandering, the same, frankly, political corruption that is taking place in the United Kingdom is taking place in America, is taking place in France, is taking place in the Netherlands, is taking place in Italy, is taking place across the entire Western world right now. And what we're seeing in response to this is, you know, Pauline Hanson now leading in the polls in Australia, the woman who famously stuck on a burqa with her stilettos and went into the Senate, who's been imprisoned for her political views and is now running a party that is leading in the polls. We're seeing this in France. Marine Le Pen with an ankle tag on because they tried to chuck her in prison. Well, they finally decided she can participate in the presidential campaign because the alternative, Jordan Bardella, was proving to be even more popular than her. So they've gone, oh, blimmin' heck, we better drag her out from the oubliette in which we thought we'd put her, but shove an ankle tag on her and make her look as dreadful as possible. Like, we can see what is going on because they have tried this every time. Do you remember when they said Georgia Maloney was so dangerous, yes, most dangerous woman on earth, fascist? Well, now she's actually toeing the line of the establishment because of all the toxic debt that the ECB holds after the 2008 financial crisis in the Eurozone, they don't have to demonise her anymore because they know that they've got her in a vice, essentially. And we can see what they do over and over again, the lawfare against Trump, the attacks on reform. I mean, look, when people have done wrong, investigate. But it's not a level playing field. It's only one party and one person who's constantly being investigated and reported on. And it's the same with the legacy media. I'd be amazed if anyone out there knew what happened in the Romanian elections. Why is Georgescu not the president of Romania? Do you know about this story?
I don't know if I do.
Why would anyone? Because it's so abhorrent and terrifying that it's had to be buried, which is the EU turned around and said, we will not recognise the fact that Georgescu's been elected as the president of Romania because he did so well on TikTok and that's why everyone voted for him. And it's clearly Russian influence that helped him do so well on TikTok. So the results got to be annulled because it's been meddled with by foreign interference. But the truth is, someone somewhere was pushing and promoting him on TikTok, and the allegation is it was actually the EU putting all those posts out there via a medium of another right-wing political party to augment Georgescu so they could turn around and then make this accusation. How blimmin' creepy is that?
Very creepy. Look, you and I and many political commentators and journalists talk about ideologies a lot, and I think sometimes, I don't want to be rude to our audience, but sometimes socialism, communism, capitalism, these are all words they understand, but they don't know how it all fits together in terms of our modern-day right and left politics. And whilst you were doing that excellent interview, I was just quickly writing it down so I could just really capture it. If you think of socialism, the king of all left-wing ideologies, born out of that was Marxist communism. So Karl Marx, go and read. I haven't got time. Out of that was born the communist states, e.g. USSR and Maoist China. Go and read. Really dangerous. I haven't got time. Out of that came one party, dictatorship, censorship, secret police, totalitarianism. Out of totalitarianism came fascism and National Socialism. Go and read. I haven't got time. The opposite to all of those things is capitalism. If you're thinking, well, capitalism just about making money, it's not. Capitalism is about liberal democracy, multi-party elections, individual rights, right of law, and limits on government powers. So you are not choosing between left, be kind or else, or right, all migrants. You are choosing between socialism and capitalism. And under capitalism, capitalism has given you every single freedom you currently hold to talk about.
Every technology, every innovation, every scientific discovery, all of it. Democracy itself.
So I think if we can sometimes bring it's not reductive, but if we can bring the argument back to socialism, communism versus capitalism and talk about what they really mean, which is what you and I are fighting for. We're fighting under capitalism, small government, the right of law, individual responsibility, individual freedom, liberal democracies where you have a multi-party system so you can have bin face and you can go on about it. But also, if you are going to have bin face, you need to have the Greens, Labour, Lib Dems. They can't go out and say we're not doing it because they're communist. This is at least once a week I'll get some idiot just write vote communism under my social media post like it's an own in some way. Like that means they're kinder and better. No, it doesn't. It means they're totalitarian. It means they love massive government.
Yeah. It means they're authoritarian. It means they actually want to oppress, and it's all about fighting for freedom.
I don't even know if they know, Alex.
Actually, they're so brainwashed, they don't know. They don't know. All right, Braveheart, well done.
Sorry.
Loved that. Next time, paint your face blue and white. That'll be cool.
I will.
Right, we're going to be taking a short break on the other side. Let's play some voice notes, read out some messages, take some calls. Let's do our housekeeping, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know the digits by now, let me tell you. 03444991000 is the number if you want to give us a call. It's your normal network rate. That number is also the WhatsApp number, so you can send a voice note or a message on that. If you want to send a text, it's 87222. If you're going to send a text, write the word talk before you text, and that, again, is your normal messaging rate, etc. Part of your bundle. OK, right, taking a short break and hopefully getting your thoughts after this.
Some breaking news. 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. They've been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the reform agenda.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, folks, I'm so sorry. The C word came up, didn't it?
It did.
I've had to, well, I screwed this up and threw it across the room. I've had to get it out of the bin. As well as Count Binface, there is going to be running in the Clacton by-election. Here we go. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph, 77, Independent. Adam Alcatip, the Forward Party. Count Binface, the Count Binface Party. Nick, the Incredible Flying Brick, the official... The official monster-raving Looney Party. Tony Kane, Independent. Woke Trump Kazi, Independent. William Stewart James Clouston, Social Democratic Party. Reece Count, Independent. Glenn Charles Cummings, Independent. Martin Davis, Freedom Alliance. Real people, real alternative. Andy Burnham, Independent. Nigel Farage, Reform UK. Atia Fard, Independent. Lawrence Fox, The Reclaim Party. Tony Francis, Independent. Robin Green, Independent. Abby Hookway, Independent. Howling Lord Hope, the official monster-raving Looney Party. Stephen Richard Ingram, Independent. Amy Morris, Independent. Derek Norbert Morris, Independent. Michael Noel O'Keefe, Independent. Martin O'Brien, Independent. Nick Pellas, Independent. Ketan Kumar Pipalaya, UK Voice, Safer and Stronger UK. Daniel Pocock, Independent. James Ransley, Consensus Party candidates. Jerry Smith, Independent. Kai Stevens, British Democrats. John Stevens, Rejoin EU. Baron von Thunderclap, the official monster-raving Looney Party. Pamela Walford, Independent. Marcus White, Everybody is God Party. And Mark Wilkinson, Independent, and I could do with a breath after that, so let's hit up the voice notes, babies! Let's go for Ian on immigration.
Oh, hello. Here's the rub. If you are an illegal migrant, or you are a criminal who should not have leave to remain, or a right to remain in this country, why are you still here? Deport these people. You'll save an awful lot of money that way, you know. I think it seems rather logical to me. But again, we need someone who's got the proper fortitude to actually do something about it. Great show. Thanks a lot.
Oh, there you go. We need the minerals. But the thing is, you've got to have return agreements with countries. We've only got about 5 or something.
Or you stop them coming in.
But the other thing, a lot of these people are coming from countries that we give a heck of a lot of aid to. And you just go, no more checks for you until there's a return agreement.
Well, I think no more checks on foreign aid until, as a country, we're economically sound. You can't be on the verge of an IMF bailout and the IMF telling you that you're too big to bail out, so you're going to have to start to cut welfare, and be the world's welfare system at the same time.
That is mad.
It's utterly mental. It won't work. It doesn't matter how lovely your eyelashes are, how much you like New Order, how much you can dance, how much you're from up north. None of these things matter. They're all massive distractions. It's basically we need sensible people in our parliament now.
All right. Hey! Right, let's have a listen to Craig on national debt.
Good morning, Alex. If we had so much austerity in the Tory 14 years, or in the initial stages of it, why did the national debt at that time increase to the levels that it did? It doesn't make sense. We can't have had any austerity. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was a very... He sounds like he's a medic.
Good
bedside manner.
Those two viewers sound incredibly educated, which I think...
know, actually. Well, why wouldn't we have an educated audience?
This is my
because we actually do proper analysis, critical thinking, give you facts, do our research, present the truth, and don't get driven along by a load of campaigning tropes, which is what the legacy media do.
And they're also in the image of us.
We are very clever people.
We encourage these people to join us. That's a very good point. All these years of austerity, and most people on the right would argue there wasn't austerity, actually. I think they dipped their toe in the austerity pool, but they never got in for a swim because it terrified people so much. But guess what? Whoever is in government over the next 5 to 10 years is going to have to really, really grow a set of the old thingies. I don't know what to say because it's Sunday lunchtime. This is
roast potatoes. They're going to need some big roast potatoes.
Oh, blooming heck.
Yeah, get some big spuds on you. Right, let's have a listen to Hev.
Good morning, happy people. This is Hev from Kent. Yeah, Kemi. Kemi, you know, sometimes she sounds good, but she, yeah, Kemi the Farage echo, I think. You know, the Reform echo. Yeah, it's just a load of shoemakers, isn't it? I mean, go away. I like Kemi. I think she's all right, but I mean, like, seriously? And Burnham, well, golly. I don't know. I mean, Burnham's been planning this for over a year, so he should have some idea of what he's doing. But again, that one is not giving us any clues, just like the last one didn't, you know. Oh, we need change. Yeah, we all know that, but what sort of change are you going to give us? Nothing that we want.
There you go. She's right.
Well, the change is far-left activism, isn't it? We've already got 2 hope not hate activists at the centre of government now. Hope not hate, by the way.
Who basically hate not hope.
Well, there's no hope, and there is a whole lot of hate if you look into it.
Have you been done over by him?
No, but I think I'm about to be.
How are you?
I don't know, because I
Lock
haven't
up
been.
your accounts.
I haven't got rid of. I mean, the thing is, everything.
The purity police are on their way. Better not speak.
Well, I mean,
Hey,
good luck
that's
to them.
hopeful.
I don't think they're going to find anything that isn't just going to get me more followers.
Right, that's true actually. Let's take a short break, and then on the other side, we're like, you know, who needs one comedian when you can have 2?
Absolutely. Who we got?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll find out.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, joining us now is the man with the mysterious N.
Oh, my goodness.
Who do you reckon
it's
it is?
not Stephen Allen.
It's Stephen Allen. Hi,
Oh,
Steve.
my God. We're contractually... We've been contractually obliged not to meet for about 2 years, Stephen. We do. We meet up in dark gentlemen's clubs in central London, of course. But great to see you, Steve.
Oh, Steve,
yeah, you
how
say
you
contractually...
doing?
I'm doing well. I realise I am almost breaching that restraining order you've got against me. But technically, Paul, I'm not in the studio with you, am I?
Exactly.
So stop going to the judges about this.
But look at this, the magic of TV and the split screen, and it looks like you are. So I love it. What do you want to talk about? I mean, what do you want to get off your chest? What do you want to rant about? What have you got prepared in your head to deliver us some sort of beautiful nuggets of clippable joy?
I love the story. Thank you. Again, that's why you went to the judge last time. It's lawfare, Paul. I'm loving this story, and loving's the wrong word. Have you seen the story about the Muslim scouts told to paint for Gaza?
Yeah. Oh, you mean the sort of junior jihadist training camp? Seen that? Yeah.
Exactly. You've got to get your anti-Semitism badge, because in the old days it was tying knots. And it was put in a pretend, and now you've got to get the crucial things to be active in the modern day society.
You get a watermelon sewn onto your uniform.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I know the old phrase of, give me the man till he's the boy till he's 10 and I'll give you the man. Like, if you can get in early, you can indoctrinate children with anything. And you think, okay, no, I know that, but come on, how bad is it really? Scouts are being told to paint things like from the river to the sea, a phrase that is illegal in Germany. And, this is Germany you're talking about. It's quite the area, isn't it? So they've made that phrase legal. But, as long as you can paint it nicely on a picture and send it, that's what the Scouts are doing these days. They're not just baking cookies or helping ladies across the road. They're trying to help ladies across from the river to the sea is what they're doing. And that's worrying.
It's blimmin' worrying. I don't even know why we've got a Muslim scouting. Can't we just have Scouts? Why do we have to have a Muslim version of it?
Yeah, well, you're thinking about having, proper monoculturalism where everyone actually blends together and we get some sort of, assimilation. That's what you've done wrong there. What you all need is our own separate Scouts. Never the twain should meet. You can't have Scouts meeting with other Scouts. People might then get on.
Sharia Scouts.
Oh, yay, can't wait for that. Blimmin' heck.
Burqa Beavers. I've got them all.
That's a different thing.
Right, let us talk about Andy Burnham, because I haven't caught up with you lately, and so I just want you to riff all over him, basically. What do you think about the fact that, Mr. New Order, high street hairdresser, the eyelashes with an ego, Manchesterism, working from home Burnham. He's our Prime Minister.
Yes, I know. Look, and the thing is, you don't know, do you? Because you don't know which one you're going to get. Who knows which kind of shell is being filled? Because that's all he is. It seems like there's not a lot of core in there. He's willing to be any kind of type of Labour person, depending on who's the boss. So during the Blair years, he was a Blairite. Gordon Brown, that little thin slice of time, he was a Brownite, if that's the phrase. It sounds like some sort of rock, but it's not. And then even Corbyn. I mean, there's the 180, isn't it? Going from being a Blairite to a Corbynite, but he was willing to do it. But the problem is now, he's now in charge. So how does he become his own kind? How does he follow himself? You know that film Being John Malkovich? And there's a bit where John Malkovich's character goes through his own tunnel and then everyone's John Malkovich. This is it. He's meant to copy the leader, but he is now the leader. He's just going to spend all of his time saying Malkovich, Malkovich. So hopefully we'll get some sort of centrist version. Maybe we will. It's not been sounding like that, though, has it?
Also, why is it this thing, right? When it was a Conservative leadership contest, because by the way, we've just become so, normalised, naturalised to, oh, well, let's just have a new Prime Minister. There you go. Ta-da! No need for elections. Who needs democracy anyway, right? We're so used to it now. It's just like, I'm expecting next week for the Prime Minister to change and just have to go, oh, well, there's a new one. But why is it when there was the Conservative leadership election, and clearly Burnham didn't want one, didn't have to have one, but is missing out on the opportunity, because like the Conservatives cosplayed who was the most Margaret Thatcher, I'm surprised they didn't put on permed wigs and wear a set of pearls. Andy Burnham's just fighting a ghost. What is this whole... why? The woman's... Look, I like Margaret. I adore Margaret Thatcher, but she's been dead quite a while. She's not been Prime Minister for 40 years. Why is that the debate we're having in this country, when Margaret Thatcher was before short-haul flights, before the real sort of, deep, broad, tendrils of supranationalism and globalisation? She was before the internet, for crying out loud. She was before mass migration. All of these things are the things that really matter today. So why is it that the two establishment parties just bang on about Margaret Thatcher all the time? I love her, but come on, let the dead sleep and all that.
I think there might be an answer to that, though. It's because since Margaret Thatcher, who's the other Prime Minister who is actually like a Prime Minister? Because in the last 7, they've only done 3.5 weeks each, so none of them have done long enough to leave a mark. Maybe Tony Blair, but the problem is Tony Blair is both still alive and, thanks to his institute, thoroughly disagreeing with Andy Burnham right now, so he probably doesn't want to pick that fight because he might end up losing it. Whereas it is true to say, if you pick a fight with Margaret Thatcher, right now she will not be able to retaliate. So maybe that's what it is. There's been no famous one since then, other than the one that they're all trying to avoid.
It's just madness. I don't get it. Do you think we should have a general election?
We should. Look, I think I've solved the world's problems on this one. Every single time you get a change of leader, the people who disagree with that side of politics say, well, we should have a general election. And the people who agree with that side of politics say, that's not our system. We have a parliamentary representative system. And then they flip. So just pick a side. You know what I mean? Poop or get off the pot. And so my theory is you should be forced to have a general election when you change leader, because if changing leader didn't really change anything, why would they flipping do it? Right? So clearly it has some sort of material impact. The fact that job number one, Andy Burnham has been like that, digital ID thing. There you go, mate. Which I agree with. I thoroughly agree with that, but it shows how quickly things can change with a new Prime Minister. So let us have a vote on it. And if you made it law that every time you change Prime Minister there'd be a general election, no party would change its Prime Minister ever again. So this whole problem would magically go away.
I know. If democracy was followed, maybe politicians would have to do what the people wanted for a change. That's why democracy is an inconvenience to them, why they pick and choose when it happens and the rules of it to suit them, to skew it, to make sure that we never actually get any sort of voice. Do you believe this, though, that he's actually scrapping digital ID? Because as far as I can tell, all of that is happening anyway. We're talking earlier, you know, we got online banking, you've got an ID, the digital accountancy, file accounts 4 times a year to connect to online banking. You've got your NHS number and the NHS app, and all that's got to link in with that. And there's no point. 1.8 billion for some digital ID. What was it? It's not going to be a card, is it? Because it's digital ID, but we've all got government gate. I mean, it exists. It's happening anyway. This is just, for me, this is just a massive gaslight, because it's like, oh, blimmin' heck, people didn't like that. He doesn't get to sort of, you know, bin the manifesto, apparently, without a general election. So let's come out the box and, like, you know, do this massive statement that we're going to scrap something so people like him and can see a change of direction. There it is, Manchesterism, scrapping digital ID. It's a lie. It's a lie.
It is, but there's one thing I like about it. It shows that he's got a thought process that has at least 2 steps. One is, people don't like this, and 2, if I then agree with people, they might like me. Let's not stop that. If we have people in charge who actually like the idea of doing what we want, this might be heading in a good direction. So don't nix it right yet. But I know what you mean. Look, the general creep of digital overreach is happening anyway. It's nice that we save some money on it. The model of it is the one that bothers me, though. Like, everyone quotes the Estonia version because they've got loads of digital ID. But the way they do it, it's thoroughly decentralised. It uses blockchain or some sort of weird Bitcoin backend.
Oh, not like that. I've got to ban the old cryptos now because Reform's getting money from crypto people, so that's suddenly become evil.
Thoroughly, yeah. But it would, if we could have something like that, it means whoever's in charge in the future, because, you know, at some point the governments will flip. So even if you love this government, you would hate one of the future, and you don't want them in charge of the ability to track you and throw you offline if you say a thing they don't like. So if we're going to do it, and it might be heading in that general direction, can we do one of those decentralised, crypto-based, you know, at least the government don't get their hands on it? But we won't. You know, it'll end up being that, you know, we're monitored, our phones are listening, and there are black boxes in the cars.
I love the fact that you think that, you know, being thrown offline for saying something that people don't like is a dystopian future under a different government. What? That's happened. You get thrown in prison.
Isn't it? Yeah, dystopian right now. Dystopian couple of years ago.
So it's all been dystopian for a long time. Steve, Mysterious N. Allen, I love you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. He's brilliant. What do you reckon the N stands for?
Oh, I know.
Did you actually know?
Yeah, it's pretty bad, actually, so I can't say I know. No, I'll tell you what it means. It's because there's another... I mean, I don't want to give this away, actually, but because there's another Stephen Allen. So he's gone Steve N. Allen.
There's another Stephen
There's another Stephen Allen, yeah.
No, hold on. Steve N. Allen or Stephen
There's
Allen?
another Stephen Allen. So he can't have Stephen Allen.
So he's just taken his and moved it in the middle,
just gone Steve
like a personalised number plate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the magique out of this, obviously, but mystique, magic.
Do you think I should change my name to Al X Phillips, like that?
Absolutely, you should.
Yeah, it's like making your name into a personalised number plate.
I mean, he's a very clever man, Steve. He's a very clever man. I mean, I don't like him.
Steve Nerd Allen.
He's good looking. He's clever. He's got a lot of good things to say. There's a lot of things not to like about Stephen Allen.
We've got to counsel him.
From the Paul Cox camp.
Right, we've got to, well, that's it. But,
yeah,
now we live in a socialist dystopia. That means, you know, people who have good stuff have to be cancelled.
I do miss... I mean,
finished.
Steve and I, we don't get to work together so much anymore, but I absolutely love Stephen Allen.
Well, you did then.
I did work with him.
Look at us,
do you know what,
making
though? I wanted to keep interrupting, but I thought, no, Paul.
Well, you do get to do that.
I do, yeah, but he only had a few minutes.
That's true.
So if I just talked all over him, that wouldn't be fair,
Let the master speak.
Let the master speak.
Right, we're going to take a short break, and talking about letting the master speak, we are finishing off the show with the wonderful Samara Gill. Why would you go anywhere when that is what is lying in store for you after this?
Some breaking news. 8 men have been charged with rape and child sex offences as part of a grooming gang operation in South Wales. Been charged with more than 30 offences. According to the CPS, the charges relate to 8 victims who were children.
Well, let me start by giving comment on Alison Hernandez, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Devon and Cornwall. She's a stupid, idiotic sycophant.
Anne Widdecombe was murdered, the most high-profile murder in Britain for many, many decades. She was murdered because she supported the reform agenda.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Can I just say, we were having a bit of a laugh because Philip and Paul Cox was so unintentionally really creepy when we were like, guess who's coming after the break? The wonderful Samara Gill, you don't want to miss it, and do it again, you don't want to miss it.
Looked down the camera and went, lovely.
Well, she is, isn't she? Let's have a look, shall we? Good afternoon, Samara. How are you?
Hi, Alex. Shock horror at the sight of my face on a Sunday morning, but I'll take creepiness from Paul Cox any day. I don't mind.
Samara, don't say that. I didn't mean to be.
It's
It's great to see you.
Now, talking about creepiness, can you explain to me why it is that there are people that something weird has gone on with the right wing of politics, right? When they're banging on all the time about the grooming gang, you know, the rape gangs, how terrible it is that you've got all these Muslim men who treat women like dirt, who are out-and-out misogynists, who are trafficking young girls and abusing vulnerable people, making them do despicable, deplorable acts, and they should all be locked up and deported. But then when it comes to Andrew and Tristan Tate, who are wanted, right, on very serious crimes, 7 further counts of rape, other charges relating to sex trafficking, indecent images of a child, sexual assault, 3 counts of arranging and facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, that they're also like, this is lawfare, you can't go after the Tate brothers, this is terrible. Like, I don't understand how there are people on the right wing of politics who are adopting these 2 individuals, the kings of the manosphere, as some kind of hill to die on.
It's such a good question, Alex. And, you know, when you talk about Islam, actually, that's something that is very prevalent within the manosphere. The Louis Theroux documentary, All About It, which I'm sure you probably hated because Louis is a bit wet and woke. But it was very interesting when he interrogated how they do embed Islam into a lot of what they do, because they basically fester on the fact that a lot of incels come and join the movement and then like elements of what Islam does, and then they turn that into anti-Semitism. So you'll see a lot of people like Andrew Tate, H3 Tiki Toki saying F the Jews and putting terrible sentiment out there, along with this blatant disrespect for women and this sort of it's a really, really interesting way that they portray modern day women and make so much money off impressionable young men by getting them into multi-level marketing and gambling enterprises. It's a whole thing that we would need hours to get into. But when it comes to the Andrew Tate stuff, I mean, they are absolute titans of the media. You can't say that they don't know what they're doing in their control of algorithms. And even though X, you know, Facebook, they've tried to suppress a lot of what the Tate brothers are trying to do, and that's almost kind of martyrized them because it makes them look like they are ones who have been snuffed out and free speech is at risk and blah, blah, blah. But they've actually made those charges make them look like they're the ones who are in the right and it's the establishment against them. And to be fair to them, they haven't actually ever been found guilty. But, and we almost shouldn't be making vast assumptions that they are, but these are some very serious charges. You know, 59 charges in total, actually, 42 against Andrew, and you've got 17 against his brother Tristan, and they were arrested, as we just spoke about, over the weekend, and that was actually the UK stepping in, the CPS getting involved on American soil and saying that they have to be brought in.
I mean, this is what I don't understand, because, you know, this is why I often say that the woke right very often are just like the Islamists that they purport to hate, just like the Islamists. They have the same sort of rich seam of misogyny. They turn and go, we're for marriage and the family unit. Now they want a wife to shut up, be at home, not work, have a load of babies, know her blimmin' place. And didn't the Tates actually, or Andrew Tate, convert to Islam at one point, you know, probably for marketing reasons? But then they're treating this like it's some sort of political lawfare. They're not a political party. They're not part of some sort of democratic movement. They have openly bragged about how to get a girl and make her do things, despicable, lurid acts online so they can make money off it. They've basically, you know, there's a word for that. It begins with P and ends in imp. And they have actively been online saying that this is what we do. So it's not a made-up allegation. That there's people who have a moral positioning on whether that's right or wrong. I think that is appalling, quite frankly, because a lot of women, it's essentially saying this is how to dupe a woman into doing these things because she's either stupid or she's probably vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? If it was,
yeah, absolutely.
And I find it utterly appalling when I'm seeing people who purport to be Mr. Family Values. I'm like the purity police. I'm all about morality. I'm right-wing. I've got traditional values. Suddenly looking at these people who are going to be arrested to have this stuff interrogated, right? No charges have been brought yet. Maybe they won't be, but, you know, let us see, because this stuff needs to be investigated. Because, as you said, the allegations are piling up, multiple allegations. No smoke without fire on this stuff. This isn't have you put something hurty words online. These are real women who are saying that I was underage when this happened to me, or this was not my choice to be doing this stuff. I thought, but whatever. Do you know what I mean? Are we now saying, because if you turn around and go, well, that doesn't need to be, her voice doesn't need to be heard, it would be the same as saying about the victims of the grooming gangs, well, that little girl was just, you know, permissive and loose living. Her voice doesn't matter. You can't have it both ways.
Yes, and this has been brought by Bedfordshire Police. This is things that they did while they were in the country, because to remind everyone, even though they kind of come across as these Romanian Americans, they are actually British citizens and were born and raised here. And it is all a facade. You know, I went on Piers Morgan's show and I was debating Andrew Tate at one point about a year ago, and it's hilarious because the guy lives a lie. I spoke to people on Piers's team who have gone to his house, and I'm just saying this in my opinion, but he basically lives on a warehouse in the side of the road in Romania, and what he purports to be as his house is actually some sort of movie set. So it is a confected basically organization that he's trying to sell to impressionable young men. And you're right about the women getting left behind in the process. And you're also right, Alex, and really bang on about the fact that it's antithetical to the conservative movement, what he is doing. He makes everyone else look bad with his ridiculous actions, and all he is a money-hungry cretin who would like to exploit what people like you have built in terms of conservatism and profit off it. And we've got no time for him. I'm very happy to see him potentially in prison if he is found guilty of these charges. But as it stands, you're right. He's painting himself just like a political prisoner.
And he absolutely is not. And I hope that this is pressure now on Donald Trump to intervene and block the extradition. Do not do it, Donald. Send them here. Let these investigations take place. The allegations against them are extremely grave and extremely serious. And if there is not a proper criminal investigation, if that is obstructed, then that is a message saying that actually, if you're a woman and a man wants to abuse you, if a man wants to exploit you, if you're vulnerable, guess what? We don't give anything. We don't give a damn. And we know we live in a world now. And let's just finish on this, Samara, because I keep saying, you know, when I was growing up, I was born in 1983. We had Elizabeth II on the throne, one of the greatest monarchs of all time, alongside Elizabeth I, up the girls. We had Margaret Thatcher in number 10, one of the greatest prime ministers of all time. I wanted to be a fighter pilot growing up. It was the very first female fighter pilot was made, and that was what was on my bedroom wall, that newspaper cutting. Now, in 2026, did I think I was going to be living in a world world where people are shuffling about in burqas, where, you know, women were being abused by migrant men with misogynistic attitudes who get beatified and the women are shut down, that this scandal of the rape gangs would be exposed, where everything's hypersexualized, where porn is everywhere, where children are sexually abusing one another because they're being exposed to the most brutal, disgusting, violent content, where society is falling apart. There's a battle of the sexes. Our rights are fewer than ever before. We are vilified online. Life has never been more difficult as a woman. What is going on, Sam? What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say after that. I love your monologues, Alex. I live for them, genuinely. No, you're completely right. It's the pornification of our society, unfortunately, and it cuts both ways. Both women have been indoctrinated to being overly promiscuous, and, you know, we've been sold this absolute lie about what it is to be a woman in the 21st century that actually is very, very... totally the opposite of progressive if you think about it. And then on the other side you've got men and how they're actually being indoctrinated. And, you know, for a society that's trying to be all gender fluid and not have any tags on anything and just, you know, go about as we are the most segregated that we've ever been as men and women. And that's probably part of the issue here. And it translates into real world violence, you know, with the trans community and the way that they seek out to go and kill others, as we've seen in America. But it also can be very, very harmful to teenagers. But unfortunately, people like the Labour government want to suppress free speech, take the social media away because they want to put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole here. And I agree with you. We need to look at the very deep issues within society and go from there. But my goodness, I don't know where to start with that one.
Oh, I don't know either. Samara, go get yourself a nice cup of tea or a three-fingered gin and tonic. You deserve it, my girl. And Paul, finally, do you know what I want to say about this pornification of society, right? It is so harmful to men. It is the leading cause of anxiety,